And we're off. Hi, everybody. It is 11:16 p.m. on June 7th, 2025. My name is Luke Thomas. This is my official, well, it's two things. It's my UFC 316 watch-along. That's one thing that it is. And then the second thing that it is was this stream will also turn into the official UFC 316 post-fight show. How are you? Welcome. Thumbs up on this. Subscribe. Do all that fun stuff. We are at the point now where Joe Pyfer, who appears to be the most sensitive man in the world, there's some debate about that, but he would certainly be in the running. Good fighter, though. Very good. I mean, you guys ever seen the scene from the movie Stripes? They turned it into a GIF, whatever, where it's like, lighten up, Francis. It was Lighten Up Francis was made for Joe Pyfer. Like, lighten up, Joe Pyfer. But in any case, we just got done with the Vicente Luque and Kevin Holland fight, which was fun, and the Patchy Mix debut, which went real bad for Mix. I had said if you got the Mix from the Bellator Bantamweight Grand Prix, then that dude is the best bantamweight in the world. But if you got the one from his PFL fight in the rematch against Magomedov, like that guy, I don't know who he can beat in the UFC, to be honest with you. And Bautista is also good. People hate Bautista and they just don't want to admit it, but he's actually quite good. He's a very good fighter. It's really no accident that he's succeeding. But in any case, we'll get to more of that on the post-fight show. Right now, we're going to focus our attention right here on the rest of this main card. Joe Pyfer, the world's most sensitive man. Oh, here are my glasses. Okay. Refuses to fight. I think my favorite part about Joe Pyfer being like, I would never fight in Mexico City. It's a shithole country. It's like, brother, you're fighting in Newark. I used to work in Newark. Like, you're not going to tell me anything about Newark being better than Mexico City. Under no, there's basically no criteria you could come up with that would make that a true statement. Newark is better than Mexico. No, it's not. Like, oh, the food's less contaminated with various things that can make me ill. No, it's not. No, I've worked in Newark. No, it's not. No, it's not. Newark is like the front line of American decline. All right, let's get these glasses cleaned up. Here's Kelvin Gastelum having to fight at middleweight because he can't make welterweight, although he made welterweight and it went poorly against Sean Brady. So maybe that's not a fair argument. I don't know. But I like this fight. I like this fight between these two. Sorry. Let's see here. I like this fight because Pyfer is obviously very physically gifted. Very, very good power. But as we saw in the Jack Hermanson fight, a little one note with the offense. And, Gastelum has a good chin and is durable and can last in fights, and he does have multiple ways to win. Could be an interesting fight. We shall see. And then after that, we have the title fights, and then after that, we have the post-fight show. There we are. All right. And it sounds like, I can't quite hear, but it sounds like Kelvin Gastelum is walking out to Vicente Fernandez's El Rey. Daniel Cormier's keys to victory. By the way, did you guys hear Joe Rogan say that Kayla got a medal in wrestling? You know, I'm not saying you got to old yeller him just yet, but may not be long from now. All right. There's Gastelum. Got a little bit of loose change on him, but he's probably in good shape. All right, there's your tail of the tape. Let's see. 33 versus 28, 6'2 versus 5'9 in favor of Joe Pyfer. He's going to have a bit of a reach advantage as well. That jab that could come in handy. We'll see. I'm pumped for this fight. I think this fight could be good. Trump is there, fresh off of being the first president since Lyndon Baines Johnson when he used the Insurrection Act to protect civil rights activists who were making the march to Selma. Fresh off of doing that in the LA riots, yeah, or whatever the fuck you want to call them. He's here tonight, so that's a fun thing. All right. There's Joe Pyfer. Got real bitter about someone asking about his restored hairline. Like I said, he appears to be the most sensitive man in the world, but all right, there's Kelvin. Looking a bit like a Ninja Turtle. He is the plus 300 underdog. That seems a little strong to me, I guess. Let's see what we get from Pyfer. I really don't know how to answer that. Oh, let's get the clock ready, shall we? All right, here we go. All right, Mac Beltran, who has tucked in his goatee into his shirt. Here we go. Round one of possible three. Here we go. Let's go. All right, round one. Open stance fight, Gastelum out of southpaw. So that lead hand battle, lead foot battle, and then potential clash of heads is my standard disclaimer whenever you have an open stance fight. Look at the difference in stance. Pyfer, nice and tall, much more narrowed. Gastelum, much wider. Right? One looks like he's obviously anticipating and setting up more of the level change. The other one looks like he's more ready to do some striking. Oh, huge right hand from Pyfer, drops Gastelum. Gastelum's kind of recovered. He gets to his base. He stands. Wow. Oh, another big right hand from Pyfer. Man, Pyfer can fucking crack, man. He's got big power. Beautifully set up, too. Pyfer's a good fighter, man. Oof. Just missed with a home run right-handed Pyfer. Gastelum tries to return the favor off a stance switch, can't get it. Pyfer doing a good job establishing wrist control and glove control in that lead hand, literally grabbing it and holding it at times. Look at that. Pyfer almost hit him with the open side counter. Just missed on that right hand. Good shot to the body as the hands came up. That was nice. Pyfer's looking good. Now, he always looks good round one. Great check hook. Pyfer's boxing looks crisp tonight. Man, nice galloping jab. Misses on the elbow as Gastelum exits. Gastelum appears recovered. Pyfer spending a lot of time here being backed up. Gastelum switching stance, and they're just kind of letting Pyfer off the hook here. I mean, this is ostensibly where you wanted him. Now they're kind of recovering a little bit of position. I was just about to ask where Gastelum's level change was, and we just saw it. Man, has Gastelum landed anything but leg kicks? All right, guess a couple shots to the body. That's a decent right hand over the top. You know, you would think that Gastelum has the faster feet, which to an extent he does, but he's not. He's using it to a degree for evasion, but not really. A little bit of bouncing there, that's better, but just doesn't put a lot of offense behind it. Pfeiffer missing a lot now relative to the beginning of the round. There you go. Gastelum trying to land a little bit there. Goes to the body. Oh, head kick by Pfeiffer. Oh my God, dude. Gastelum's got a fucking chin. Oh, hard jab from Pfeiffer. Oh, he gets dropped with a right hand again. Eyes open. You could see he was pulling back, man. Beautiful shot. Open side counter, I believe. Yep, sure was. Hit him off that open side counter. There's the check hook. Dude, Gastelum was getting fucked up in this round. He was making, I wouldn't say a comeback, but he was at least putting together a bit of a rhythm. Pfeiffer put a stop to that. Oh, fake the right, came with the left hook. Man. Jesus. Kelvin Gastelum's in a tough-ass place. I said this after his loss to Sean Brady. I'm not really sure where he goes from here. I know everyone's like, oh, he does his best work at 85, but I think that's a bit of a mirage. I don't really think that that is what you could say in a contemporary sense. Like, he's got his best chance of winning at 85. I don't really believe that. Again, fight is young. He could go out here and knock out Pfeiffer in round 2. Let's be clear about that. But then you're like, oh, well, just go to welterweight. But then he goes up against Sean Brady and he just gets kind of worked over, you know? So to me, it's like there's a bit of just a stagnation more broadly. But again, let's see if he wins this fight, because that would change that thesis, right? So, man, look at this. Boom, head kick. Fucking insane that Gastelum just ate it. Check hook into the right hand. Fuck. Oh, that was nice. All right, round 2. Let's see. Two shots in every can. All right, round 2. Here we go. Gastelum having a hard time with that range, man. I don't think it's not really just Pfeiffer is tall, so he's and his stance is relatively narrow, so he's there to be hit. He just can't find a way to break through. Look at that, just swinging at air. He's going to have to marry this with pressure or good evasion. Man, Gastelum can just touch him with leg kicks and really not much else. Pfeiffer doing a good job for the most part of staying balanced. Oh, God damn. Pfeiffer is just fucking him up. Hard right hand. A couple of them land. Gastelum doing this fucking shit, which ain't going to get nothing done. But you know what? I get it. He's out of ideas. Like, he's trying to come up with something. Blood now coming out of the nose of Kelvin Gastelum. A punch to the chest. Okay, guys. Stance switch from Pfeiffer misses. Man, he's just out of the way of some of these Gastelum blitzes. I mean, he looks good here. I'd like to see a little bit more activity out of Pfeiffer. Dude, look at Kelvin, just can't even get close, man. Look, he can only land that inside almost cut kick because there's just nothing else in range. It's like, dude, you see how he's missing all the time. This is why having pressure matters. Because if you have a guy backed up against the fence and then you want to do these long range things, it narrows their options about what they can do. I mean, I know it sounds rudimentary in that sense, but just think of it like throwing these strikes in these contexts. If you're a Gastelum, you have to know without pressure, like there's nothing there, or very little anyway. If you can't get this close to the guy, then you have to get him to the fence and use the fence as a way to help you narrow the space, or you have to invite pressure and invite a different way. There it is. That's better. Got a little closer. Used a fake takedown, got behind the body there, and then came over the top with the right. That's nice. That's better. That's better. Oof. Pyfer kind of glances with the right hand after a full 360 rotation by Gastelum on a failed kick. Yeah, commentary booth saying it's a better round for Gastelum. It is. That's not saying a whole lot, but it definitely is. And you can see the numeric total on the screen has Gastelum landing more, but like, you know, again, qualitatively, that ain't really the story. I will say it'd be kind of fun if he can mount a bit of a comeback here in round 3. Right now, he's not getting hit. Okay, so here's the improvement. Oh, well, he just took a 2-punch combination there, but relative to the first round, he didn't take nearly as much of a beating this round. So that's the improvement. But the problem was that's more going from survive to defense. That's really not going from defense to offense. And going from defense to offense is a little bit harder sometimes than going from pure survival to defense. There's Dean Thomas in the corner of Joe Pyfer. Oh, he wanted a 2:30 warning. Okay, so halfway through. Interesting. All right, here we go. Gastelum does not look deterred. He does not look unmotivated. Let's see. All right, let's go. Round 3. Here comes Gastelum, a little bit more urgency. Yeah, he didn't look deterred in that corner. I got to tell you. He also had Pyfer backed up for a minute. This is better. Now he's got him pressured. You have to watch out for the counter shots. But look where Pyfer is now. Now Pyfer backs him up and reclaims center. It was there for a moment. All right, pick up off the single leg. That's the kind of thing he needs to get close. Pick up off the single leg. You're going to fail on it. Doesn't matter. Grab it to get close and then do something else with it. Run him to the fence. Oh, decent right hand there. Good right hand lands for Pyfer. Good check hook lands for Pyfer. Gastelum very frustrated with the lead hand fighting. You see how Pyfer leaves the hand up there? That can be quite frustrating if you don't know how to deal with it. Right? They just kind of let it hang out there in their face. It's very, very annoying. See that? See Gastelum like spending energy trying to swat it away. He's annoyed by it. Mm. Oh, that's so great. So Gastelum throws and does a first move. Pfeiffer, oh, good 1-2 there from Gastelum. Great 1-2 there. That's good work. Wow. Coincidentally, it's closer to the fence, although that's not quite the reason why it landed, but still. That's good. Backs him up and then throws. Then push. Where the fuck was this? Okay, it didn't work this time, but this is clearly fucking better. Where was this? Oh, and now Piper, you got Piper shooting. Where the fuck was this? Got good takedown by Piper. Gastelum scrambles to his base. He can reverse this position. He can Iranian. I know it's Iranian, but I've always said Iranian in wrestling because of the move. Goes up to a single. Has him up against the... Where the fuck was this? Did you not hear what I said about using this is what he... Like, this was... This is why you're here. Because, listen, folks, I don't know it all. There's so much I have no fucking concept of. But I've been watching this for a long time. And you can just tell what the ingredients are that have to be established for success. And if you don't have it, it's very hard to do. Like, MMA is kind of simple in that regard. Who is this fighter and under what conditions do they thrive? What do they have to do to establish that? You know, it's not essentially, I mean, yes, of course, it can be quite difficult in the tactical nuts and bolts, but from a broader picture, sometimes it's fairly obvious. And again, even off that, he's not winning, but this is the best round he's had by a million miles. He's got Pfeiffer on the back foot here a little bit now. Pfeiffer pressing back constantly. Gastelum just fucking surrendering it. And now he's trying to pull him into it with the left hand. There's the left hand going to the body. Dude, where the fuck was this shit? You know what? I don't think it's going to be 29-28 for Gastelum. But if he wins this round, you might get some dicey judging. You never know. I mean, I don't think so. I think Pfeiffer wins both the first two rounds, but certainly round one, obviously, right? Kelvin's winning this round, I think. Two good left hands. Boy, I tell you what, if this was 5 rounds, remember the Hermanson fight was 5 rounds, right? Yeah, Joe Pfeiffer getting booed in Newark, which is apparently where he lives. Joe Pfeiffer should win that 29-28. Gastelum, very frustrating from him. In the first round, I couldn't spot him because that's a tough, he got caught early and, who knows. But by round 2, the job was pretty clear. Let's take a look at some of these highlights here. Yeah, boom, Jesus. Oof. Boom, head kick. Gastelum just ate it. Another right hand. Look at look at some of these fucking highlights. Kelvin with a good 1-2. That's a great 1-2. Yeah, I'm going to guess what, 29-28? 29-28? I didn't even mention it, but if y'all want to get stuff on the screen here, fire that bitch into the super chat. You heard? Early prelims were fire. Great fights at a huge KO. Dude, the UKO, YOO, the one bop just hit him with one of those. Oh, that was so sick. Thoughts on Cash Patel's JRE appearance? It doesn't appear to be very convincing to anybody. That's what I think. Do you think Sean O'Malley is a top 5 all-time striker in MMA? No, not yet. All right. Judges say 29-28, 29-27, 30-27 Joe Pfeiffer, right? Decent win. Good win for Joe Pyfer. But I don't know if we learned a ton from this relative to the Hermanson fight. All right, here's Joe Rogan. Says his legs felt flat, no excuse. Couldn't finish him. Tough guy. That's fair enough. You guys know how I feel about using the American flag to wipe sweat. Yeah, all the fighters are going to blow Trump tonight, right? Yeah, I don't care about any of this shit. All right. Trump declared insurrection. Okay, we can't do the political thing today. I mean, I know I like to drop little nuggets here and there, but we can't do that today. National Guard is being deployed to stop ICE raid protests. Yes, I did see this. Shows up to a UFC event to sports wash his image and seals clap in approval. What a mess. Yeah, every time they do this, every time that they show Trump, I'm just telling you how it is. Every time they do this, I get emails from people being like, I can't take the sport anymore. Every time without fail. Every single fucking time. It is quite a thing. But I think for the purposes of this stream, I try to keep it about the actual fights. I really do try. All right. Michael says, take it easy on Joe. You and BC have a whole segment about making mistakes on MK. It happens. Yeah, that's true. It's true. There's Justin Gaethje. Amanda Nunes. They got 2 kids now. There's old Mike Tyson. Not going to show his butt cheeks tonight, huh? Let's see. The donk stream begins. Vapes, our drinks are locked and loaded. Happy to be a wash donk amongst the community of donks. Yes, indeed. I'm going hard in the paint in the 8th row with some Angels Envy bourbon. That sounds delicious. Alan says, Gastelum and his muffin build. I mean, he tried. He tried to do that. And then he got worked by Sean Brady. Like, what are you going to do? Brandon Music with an insanely generous donation. Thank you, sir. Very, very nice. Salute. Joshua says, Keyshawn and his bro jumped Albright. CX. Keyshawn Davis? Guys, you see how badly he fucked up his career this weekend? He was supposed to have a homecoming in Norfolk, where he's from. One more time, I've dated a girl in Norfolk. That place sucks. I don't care what the fuck what anybody tells you. That place sucks. And I mean, that's a military base there, and they got a couple nice things, but it's a terrible place. And he was supposed to have a homecoming there. Misses weight terribly, over 4 pounds. Right? We're talking about weight classes are 5 apart. Misses weight by 4 pounds plus. And then they try to renegotiate the fight under new terms to make it keep going. Loses his title on the scales. They ask him about it afterwards. He's like, "Yeah, I knew I wasn't going to make it." But, excuse me. What did he say? Like something to the effect of, he had some knowledge about how he knew this was going to happen, and it did not look like he tried to make the weight at all. And I think he just assumed that De Los Santos' opponent was going to renegotiate the fight, and doesn't, and the fight falls through. And my understanding was there were supposed to be Norfolk and Virginia Beach Tidewater area celebrities going through there, like Michael Vick, Allen Iverson, guys from that area. My understanding was the mayor of the city was supposed to be there, all kinds of stuff, all completely fucked up. He fucked up bad. This gentleman writes, I came across a clip of your breakdown on Ferguson Gaethje, and it helped me appreciate his striking a lot more. Where can I watch the whole thing? It might be on this channel. It might probably as a member, you can get access to the technique breakdown stuff. That's typically where most of it lives after the fact. Yeah. John says, did you see Ben Askren is in critical care with staff? I did not. He's in critical condition with staff? Dude, the staff has to be like, is that a true thing? I mean, I hadn't heard this. So this is the first I'm hearing of this. So I'm trying to is he in critical condition? Well, obviously we don't. Well, obviously that's terrible. I didn't know I just saw him the other day, like training with Rafael Lovato Jr. I don't know what happened. Doomface says, did you read Boromir's name perfectly on your LC live chat? Have you seen Lord of the Rings? Yes. Thoughts? Are you interested in the books? Remember on here in Substack. Am I interested in Lord of the Rings? Not as a current thing that I want to spend my time doing. It was fun in elementary / middle school. I mean, I'm not saying that's the ultimate form of its entertainment. I'm just saying that's when I interfaced with it. But thank you for your support. Nothing else for Trump to do tonight, right? Guys, what do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Like, you want me to make it about the fights, or you not want to make it about the fights? Like, what do you want me to do? I don't love that he's there either. I don't know how else to like manage this, right? All right, Patience says, was Patchy the most disappointing debut ever? No. There's a long line of disappointing UFC debuts from guys in other organizations. The thing about that one that is really bad for me is that I couldn't quite tell if the Magomedov rematch was aberrant or not. And it's not. That's really quite the problem yet, or so far. Did you watch Predator Killer of Killers yet? I finished it today. I really liked it. It's not the best Predator story I've ever seen. I don't know if the animation will be for everyone. I don't know. It's not, I'm not trying to compare it to the original movie. I'm just taking it as another piece of art, part of this genre. I liked it. Your mileage may vary. I liked it. Have you ever tried Metallica's whiskey? I didn't even know they had whiskey, so the answer is no. Rico says Mario setting up offense off that jab was. Yes, it was. He's a good fighter. People never want to admit this, but he's a good fighter. Like, he's a very good fighter. Mike says, is there an avenue to apply to be a mod? These bots are a little crazy, and I'm here on your live chat. Yes, email me. LukeThomasNews@gmail.com. Email me. If Kayla loses, this person writes, we can't even call PFL the co-feeder. That's a funny joke. Michael says, Askren has pneumonia, not staph. Pneumonia, dude. Pneumonia is no fucking joke, man. It's no fucking joke. I hope he's okay. Obviously, I would never wish ill on him. I genuinely hope he pulls through. I'm sorry to hear this. Truly. Poodle says, can you promote a mod? So much spam. Not tonight, unfortunately. Animesh, keep up the great work. Thank you, Animesh. Grayson, welcome to the party. Kylan. So much spam. I don't know how. Let me see what I can do. Oh, hold on. Let's see what we can do. Okay. Let's see. Let me see if I can. Whoops. Hang on. Let's see if we can't fix a little bit of this, huh? Let's see. All right. There we are. Hopefully that helps a little bit. There we go. Okay. All right. Should be a little bit better now. Okay. Animesh, just gifting memberships. All right, by the way, the walkouts have started. Here comes Kayla Harrison. So this is your co-main event for UFC 316. Michael says, do you think Tom and John are lying when they say the fight is not happening and it actually is, just so when it does get announced, it's even bigger? No, I don't think that. Fight could still happen, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think that they're doing this thing that you're talking about. Jason says, Heard you mentioned a couple times that your house is paid off. I'd like to pay mine off early also. Willing to share any tips, tricks, or strategies. I bought my house in a super shitty, dangerous neighborhood that no one wanted to move into, and I fucking moved in here and I thugged it out for 20 years. But when other people weren't willing to live here, that was the only place I could afford to live in the city, because I bought a house in DC proper. I moved into a terrible fucking neighborhood under the premise, and I was correct, that this neighborhood over the course of 10, 15, 20 years would transform, and it did. Now it's still, I don't live in anything approximating any of DC's nicest neighborhoods, far from it. But it has improved dramatically. But, there were 10 years there, brother, where, like, it's kind of funny. There's bars on all my windows. Not all of them. I actually took some of them off, but there's still some bars on some of the windows. And when people come over, they're like, "You got bars on your fucking windows?" And I was like, "Dude, when I first moved in here and people came over, they didn't ask me why I had bars in my windows. I just thugged it out. I was like, this is what I can afford. I'm just going to figure out a fucking way to make this work. And I did. All right. Ray says, Askren non-responsive with staph-related pneumonia. That is terrible. I'm terribly sorry to hear that. I hope he pulls through, man. I don't know what to say. I'm not religious. I suppose if you are, a prayer is in order, but I certainly hope he's okay. Jom, welcome to the party. Live chat part 2. Please skip the fights. No, I'm not skipping the fights. Eric says, am I giving the crowd too much credit, or did it seem like the crowd was booing Patchy's effort and not the fact that Mario won? Hard to say. It just doesn't seem to me like they like Mario all that much. Mark, welcome to the party. Mark Antoine. Poodle says, now that they don't ask about the bars and the ghetto front yard bench press. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of changed over time, but people are like, how? It's like I didn't move to Georgetown. You know what I'm saying? Pretty far from Georgetown. I moved to a fucked up neighborhood, but we worked it out. All right, here comes Peña. Lights are down. So first time I went to the Prudential Center, I saw Kimbo Slice fight James Thompson. That was I think that was a CBS fight. I don't know if it was Showtime or not. I can't remember anymore. I think it was CBS, but whatever. That was a fun night. Alexander Emelianenko was on that card. I believe that's right. Who was on that card? Oh, Nick Serra was on that card. Matt Serra's brother, and he refused to stand. You guys know that story? He refused. He gets leg kicked a bunch, and he eventually sits, and the ref's like, okay, stand, gives the guy stops leg kicking him on the ground, backs up, and the ref comes in and is like, okay, stand up. And he, by the way, his nickname was the Mad Monkey, and he used to come out with like a mask, and he would throw bananas and shit. This is Matt Serra's brother, Nick Serra. This is a real thing for those of you who never heard this. Anyway, he gets leg kicked. I forget who he was fighting. Maybe it was like Luke Kumo or something. I forget. He gets leg kicked a bunch and just fucking refuses to stand when the referee is like, stand. So the referee just fucking waves it. That's it. One of the strangest things I've ever seen. Hold on. Let's see. What fight was that? Nick Serra. All right. For crying out loud. All right, hang on. What card was that? Or I should say, who else was also on that card? That's what I want to know. So that card against James Thompson, Elite XC Primetime. Kimbo Slice versus James Thompson was your main event. Robbie Lawler versus Scott Smith, which ended in no contest. Gina Carano, Caitlin Young. That was a big fight. Joey Villasenor versus Phil Baroni. That was a good fight, too. And then Brett Rogers, John Murphy. Who was the guy? Oh, Matt Makowski. I don't even know who the fuck that is. Look, TKO retirement, Nick Serra. That dude just refused to get up. did 4.85 million viewers on average and peaked at 6.5 million viewers, making it the most watched MMA show in television history until Velasquez dos Santos. Insane numbers, dude. Kimbo used to pull fucking huge numbers. Huge numbers. Make sure to put respect on Van. Yeah, Josh Van on MK. Don't you worry. I got you covered. Don't you worry. Throw the chat in slow mode to help the spam. Hang on. Let's see what we can do. Here we go. Trying to do my best with some of this. There we go. After Patchy, if Kayla loses, Lord help Aaron Pico. Yeah, holy shit. Matt says, hey, Luke, if you know how to punch a bag relatively well, do you stand a better chance in a street fight? Yes. Yes, you do. All right. Tail of the tape. 35 versus 34. Peña's older. 5'6 versus 5'8. Kayla a little bit taller, but Peña has a longer reach. Now, Harrison should win this one, right? She's a pretty substantial favorite. Oh, minus 675. Yeah, she's a substantial favorite. The issue for me is she is a little flat-footed as well, and this weight cut is absolutely fucking insane, and it absolutely takes something out of her. So her speed is not great. Now, once she gets a hold of you, locked hands in some kind of a way, you're going to get frequent flyer miles. And the best part of her game is Kayla has terrifying ground and pound, in part because she can use both hands by using her legs to help control position. Habib Nurmagomedov was good at that at times. Yes, of course, he was wrist riding, and she'll wrist ride too. But there's a lot of being able to use hips and then legs to control for the other person's trunk or hips, and then that allows them to fucking tee off. So that's really where she's going to want to win this fight, is going to be ground and pound. Peña has 25% historical takedown defense rate. Poor. But she's quicker and she takes risks. And somebody like that can be dangerous. So I understand why the odds have Kayla as high as they do, and they're probably right. But people being like, oh, Peña has no shot in this one. Listen, Kayla could take her down and then mount and then finish her off in the first. But there is a world where Peña is able to leverage some of these strengths against these very clear weaknesses of Harrison. But Harrison is a fucking tank, man. I remember the first time I had her in studio, and because I had Helen Maroulis in studio, who won the gold medal, I believe the gold medal in wrestling, but several weight classes below what the weight, what Kayla competed in judo. She was much smaller, you kind of greet someone. But then Kayla, I remember like touching her back, for a picture, and I was like, Jesus, All right. Steve Mocco in her corner. Mike Brown in her corner. She got a good corner. All right, there's your champ. You got Izzy Martinez in her corner. I didn't realize he was in her corner. Or I guess maybe I did. I forgot. Mike Valley in her corner. That's another good corner. These are good fight. These are good coaches and trainers. All right, who's our referee? Is it going to be Ozempic Keith Peterson? Who's it going to be? All right, here we go. Let's get the clock ready. Round one of a possible 5. Oh, is it Shaolin Ribeiro? By the way, Andre Ward over the left shoulder there, right behind Ivanka. Here we go. Great referee in Shaolin Ribeiro. Great referee. All right, here we go. Open stance again. Same thing. Lead hand battle is going to matter. Lead foot battle is going to matter. Clash of heads, always possible. I have a feeling this fight might be boring until Kayla gets a takedown or Peña takes a risk. It's going to be a lot of this, I think, where they're both so far away they can't possibly hit anything. Decent left hand there from Harrison. She got a little closer. Okay, body kick from Harrison. Overhand left doesn't really score, but she's throwing it. Now she's getting close to the fence, Peña is. Let's see if Harrison uses anything about this. And remember, one thing about MMA is you actually don't have to have a good wrestling shot. I talked about this on the on my Substack the other day. You don't have to have a good posture by the time you make contact on your shot. You can actually be bent over at the waist and then just run them into the fence and then consolidate the position later. It's actually one of the benefits of, like, you can just get away with having not bad wrestling, but you can take a bad shot right there. That was not like an amazing way to get her, to shoot a takedown or to achieve dominant position, but she's consolidating the position now. She has an underhook on the right side. You can see Julianna's trying to use a frame. Kayla's trying to get her head on the other side to cover both shoulders. She's either going to step in front, and then she was trying to do an inside trip to turn her clockwise. Now she's probably going to go the other way, step on the outside, Casoto hook, and then she's down. So now this is a problem for Peña. Peña have 25% takedown defensive rate. This is where it shows. What you are probably going to see from Kayla here is she's going to try and achieve. She's got what, like kind of like a modified, side control. I was going to say leg drag for a second, but it's just side control. She's got the hand in between the legs to control the hips, and she's got kind of this modified, I was going to say, crossface. There it is. Back to it again. And you can see putting all her weight. Now she's going to flatten her out. Now look at Peña, flat on her back. Terrible place to be. She goes for the inside butterfly there. That's going to be great if you want to lift her, and she has the underhook on that same side. But the crossface is going to really, really prevent her getting a whole lot of elevation except to get to double, which is fine. You can do double butterfly, but you're not going to get much more from it from this. Now the question is what she's going to do with this. Let's see. She gets full guard. All right, I respect the fact that she's kind of inching her way back to something. Kayla needs to remember, if you're on both of your knees and you're chest to chest, there is no meaningful offense there. There's no meaningful ground and pound, and you can, but you can't really pass guard from there either. So this is better because now she's got a little bit of space. But Peña, scrappy underneath. That was a heavy shot from Kayla. But again, chest to chest, knees on the ground, that is nothing. There is nothing there. You can hold it for a little bit, but there's no offense from there. And by the way, like, so one thing she's going to be doing here is, rather than trying to pull out where someone can use their guard to collect the harness, like an arm and a head, right, with her legs, like a triangle, you go higher into them, right? You can see that. And then that's oh, she has a knee down and it's Jersey. You can't do that. Take a point. It's a title fight. Let me pause this. Take a fucking point. It's a title fight. I don't give a shit. Take a point. Take a point. Yes! Thank you, Shaolin Hibero. Thank you. Fucking A. Thank you. Good. Yes. I told you. Did I not say Shaolin was a good referee? Did I not say Shaolin was a good referee? Did I not fucking say it to you? Did I not say it to you? Shaolin is the man. Shouts to Shaolin. Great MMA fighter, great jiu-jitsu black belt, excellent referee. That's what I'm fucking talking about. Enforce the fucking rules. I'm going to speed this up a little bit. There we go. It's about right. There we go. Oh, I'm so fucking happy about that. It's a UFC title fight. That's the champion who did it walking into this fight. Not forgivable. Not forgivable. Take a fucking point. Great round for Kayla. I mean, I guess, right? Great round for Kayla. Love that. Love that from Shaolin. Love that. Okay, this is Peña's corner. Yeah, I mean, they're not giving her the best information, but whatever. First round. Mike Brown saying she's not countering. All right, here we go. Round 2. So that's a 10-8. 10-8 for Kayla because of the point deduction. People are, if this goes to a decision and like Kayla fades down the stretch and survives but wins, people are going to complain about the point being taken, and I absolutely am not going to be one of those people. Trust me when I tell you that. Kayla doing a little bit better to close distance more eagerly relative to her last UFC fight. She loves that inside leg kick from opposite stance. Now she's got her backed up against the fence. Here we go. Don't let her off. Ooh, got a little too carried away with trying to rush that contact. Peña trying to go slow like this and, be careful to keep her stance low and not really throw. I don't know how this helps her. Ooh, body kick from Kayla. Okay, let's see what we got here. Kayla comes in off the elbow, gets single underhook. So she might rotate her over her left shoulder. Let's see. Let's see which way she steps in between. That will tell you what she's going to do. And you can see Peña sagging over that left underhook to kind of ruin it a little bit, right? Which is smart by her, but of course they can take you that direction if you do that for too long. All right, same thing. So she tried the inside trip to the right and it didn't work. The next time, it's probably going to take her the other direction. Let's see. Good job by Peña. Oh, wow. Look at Kayla dominantly underhooking. Changes levels, tries to collect the hands. Good job by Peña stuffing it. That was nice. That was nice. If I'm Kayla, there we go. So one thing I learned from Craig Jones, you can have a gable grip like this, and that grip is easier to strip, but it's better for lifting. You can have a C grip, which is worse for lifting, but easier to maintain, harder to strip. So there's a contradiction between them. So see which ones they go to and how they're able to execute off of them. Nice. Takedown again off the inside. I have to go back and look. I think that was an inside trip. But now she's got her here against the fence. Now this changes the game about what you can do with your guard. This is better for Kayla, even though it's full guard again. She's got her right up against the fence. And when your chin is tucked and you can't, the top of your neck is compressed, it's very hard to use your guard in any kind of meaningful way. You can use it defensively. Oh man, look at her grinding with the elbow. And now you can see Kayla has a knee up. So that's typically number one sign that they're going to, unload with ground and pound. You can have chest to chest and a knee down. Volk will do that, and he'll bring one knee up and then slightly raise up and then use that to drive what little space exists. Here's an armbar attempt from Julianna, but it's probably going to go nowhere. She's holding the glove. Shaolin, she's holding the glove. Nice elbow. She's going to tilt her here. She's going to Turk the leg. Let's see. She's got a spiral ride on the left-hand side. Yep. She's going to Turk it. She's going to snatch her off her base here, I'm guessing, right? Yep. Man, dude, she looks like a police officer arresting a drunk at a bar. She might be able to get the Kimura here. She's got that far side wrist captured. It's almost like a mini. It's not quite like a gift wrap, but it's powerful. Oh, she could get head and arm triangle here. She could get head and arm triangle here. She might even. Now, it's stopped because she has the butterfly hook and it's up against the fence. So that's going to make it hard to get to the other side, but she could threaten it here. She's going to try and peel off that instep. Let's see. Yeah, it's probably nothing doing. Okay, so you see how the crossface is forcing Peña to look away? That means it's tight. That means it's tight. When it's so strong that it forces the opponent's head over, that's when you know. Oh, here we go. That's it. Stepped over the head. She got it. That's it. Kayla's your new champion. Dominant. Dominant. Let me see that one back one more time. How did she set it up? So she has the crossface. She has the crossface. She's going to grab the wrist. Let's see. Oh, she just steps over like that. Comes over and then steps over the head. That's it. Yeah. That's sick. Great for her. Dude, that's the winningest American ever in judo history. Gold medalist at one Olympic Games. Gold medalist at a second Olympic Games. UFC champion. I got to tell you, fucking impressive. Yeah. Did I not tell you she had the Kimura on that far side if she wanted it? You came to the right stream, ladies and gentlemen. You came to the right stream. You did. Great win by Kayla. She looked pretty good here. Are they praying or something? I'm not even doing a bit. Were you supposed to link up with Immortal Technique? I know we were supposed to. We just never really did. Whatever happened to that collab? Thoughts on him generally? I love Immortal Technique. I think very highly of him as an MC and an activist. Did you see UFC actually showed a BC tweet earlier? Yeah, they like him better than they like me. This gentleman writes, surprised nobody uses Hell Awaits by Slayer as their walkout song. Such a killer intro. Have you heard it? Yes, of course I've heard it. Hang on here. Let's get some of this spam. Yeah, takes her down. Now look, she had that far side wrapped, right? You can see it over there. Comes back, steps. Once she stepped over the head, that was it. Once you step over the head, they can't sit up, and it allows you to pull them up just enough to force the hand back. So the hand gets forced back with maximum pressure, and the head has nowhere to go. Once you step over it, that's it. Like they got nothing doing at that point. Yeah. Herat says, I remember going to see Diaz Miller at the Izod Center. Wow. I saw Fedor and Bigfoot at the Izod Center. Really odd card, especially when you look back. LeVar Johnson, that's right. Bring back MMA Beat. Stay frosty. Well, I agree with the point deduction. I don't like how Peña was penalized for a move that could lead to a meaningful offense in another state. That's a bigger problem. But did the referee make the right call with what he had? Yes, he did. You forgot to list Kayla's PFL titles. I know. Sorry about that. I meant, beating someone that the fans won't have some kind of asterisk about, which they will about this too, but you know what I mean. I respect her wins in PFL, but you're right. They deserve mention too. Can you please? I swear it'll only ban spam, but more importantly, I loved Kayla's feints with her hips. It's so effective at freezing opponents. Yeah. Great win. There's Ali, her manager. Here's Kayla. Second Olympic gold medalist in UFC history to become champion, other one being Henry Cejudo. She's talking about not giving up. She mentioned it Thursday night, which of course is the weight cut. All right, that's in some religious shit. I don't care about that. Not sure if it's been brought up, but being reported that Nick Diaz drugged and taken against his will to a drug rehab center in Mexico. Cesar Gracie reported the opposite today, and apparently had a picture with Nick. I don't know what to believe, but there are at least disputed accounts. All right, back to this. Joe's asking, what'd you say to Julianna? Yeah, saying nice professional things about Julianna. I had people in my mentions because I was on submission radio and I was being like, yo, this cut for her is terrible. And the people being like, it's not that bad. And I'm like, you're a fucking idiot. And by the way, they're in the corner. You see the guy with the black shirt? That's Jimmy Pedro, one of the greatest American judokas of all time. There's Amanda. Hey, we're gonna get Amanda and Kayla. Finally, a big women's fight. I'm fucking pumped. Oh, they're gonna face off? Sick. Oh, she's taunting her in. There we go. Let's see. Okay. All right. They shake hands. Time to face off. All right. Amanda says she's coming back. Let's do it. All right. Hey, we're going to get a big women's fight out of this. When was the last time we had like a really big women's fight? I can't even fucking remember. I mean, we've had some good ones. I'm not saying we haven't had good ones. We've had some important ones, but like a big one. Yeah, let's do it. Fuck yes. Here we go. Kayla and Amanda to the rescue, bitches. Let's go. Steve Mocco. There it is. All right. By the way, it's just 12:20. They're going to have to get the main event started here before 1, I'm guessing. I realize that's a very old man thing to complain about, but, the Tukey alarm, it goes off at 7 a.m. on the Nugget. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be ready for that. Abolish the division and make her women's heavyweight champ. Oh, and there's Dan Lambert. That's her with Dan Lambert. And then Jimmy Pedro, Mike Brown. I'm not sure who the older guy is. I guess it's her dad or some shit. I don't know. Steve Mocco in the back. Her fam. Yeah. Nick's girlfriend reported the Mexican situation. Cesar Gracie was like, that's not her girlfriend. That's not his girlfriend. So I'm not sure how to interpret that. Corey Sandhagen. Hell yeah. Eddie Johnson. This is the MMA we love and we've missed. That's right. Guys, is Trump there? They never say. You would never know it. You know what I mean? Because they always hide it. All right. Poodle says, was Amanda floating a comeback for a while? Yes. Seemed like everyone knew this was coming. They did. It had been largely telegraphed, but nevertheless, a welcome return. Alan W. says, Joe says he's 5'8". Kayla has no shoes and she's 3 inches. He's not 5'8". I've seen him in person. He's not 5'8". Tu Chang says, won big when Pacheco upset Kayla. I'm betting the farm on Amanda. I don't think that's an unfair bet. You should get the gold. You should get a gold belly to get big chicken and give it to your wife without telling her where it's from. Would you still love her if she likes it? Yeah, I mean, it's Chick-fil-A. Or no, what's it? Big chicken was KFC, right? It was KFC. So I don't know. Michael says, does your kid really wake up at 7 a.m.? Dude, every motherfucking kid wakes up at 7 a.m. every day. Do you not have children? I mean, I guess if you're like teenagers or something, that's different. Little kids get up butt early every morning. Yes. All right. It's so weird. Half of my timeline is all about like the politics of the moment. And then half my timeline is like the sport of the moment. So it's really weird to be like half the people freaking out about him being like a neo-fascist. And then the other half being like, hey, look, let's take pictures at the fights. Oh, here's the Davis brothers and Nahir Albright. Albright claims he was jumped and headbutted. Police were called, and Keyshawn Davis had to be escorted out of the Scope Arena in his home. Dude, he's had the worst weekend ever. It's a power slap ad. Now's the time. It's Dumpling versus the Hawaiian, brother. Plus, Wolverine versus Rivero. All right. Keyshawn's brother. Oh yeah, this is from BC. BC texted me. Keyshawn's brother. Okay. They just interviewed Albright. He had fresh cut on his head. Said they jumped him backstage. That's insane. Dude, Keyshawn Davis has had, I don't know if he knows this, but he's had one of the worst weekends of his life. Big fight feels, yeah. I don't get that. All right. Why is Trump there solo? I'm used to the entire Republican cabinet. Well, Rubio is there. And then one of the failure twins, one of the boys. There's Newark. They make it look nice. It's not. It's real. What's the word I'm looking for? Shit. That's the word I'm looking for. Newark is shit. All right, time for the main event. Now, if I may, while we're getting this going here. Let's see here. Now that I'm thinking about it, right here. So on my Substack yesterday, we watched the first Merab and O'Malley fight. And I have to tell you, this is here. Only available to paid subscribers, but we watched it together and then talked about what I had seen and what I thought was relevant. And basically, here's what I came to. Now, they're going to run the promo package for this main event. So the main event is coming up, UFC 316, and then we'll get to the post-fight show. But let's talk about this main event. The first time it happened at the Sphere, UFC 306, I believe. In short, two things you saw from O'Malley. One, he would have to put three to four punch combinations and move through distance to cover a retreating Merab. Merab presses so high that if you try and blitz back on him, he's got all this room to move. So you can't just really hit him all that great. You would see O'Malley go left-handed stance, right-handed stance, and then two to the body, or stance switch and then two to the body. You saw that a lot, but in general, the best shots he landed was when he covered distance with the strikes, right? A swivel jab got it, and some other stuff off a three-punch combo. That's what he has to do. That's the first thing on the feet, but he got a little bit one note with it and stopped feinting. That's the other thing. But here's the bigger insight. Merab is very good. By the way, he does stall. People can say whatever they want. He stalls. People think because he's busy in stall positions, he's not stalling. No, that's stalling. You're just kind of moving around through a stall. But that's not the point I want to make. The point I want to make is one of the critical details in if someone takes you down and get into your feet and separating is what? It's building height, right? Building height is critical. Hip height, head height, the whole thing. When you surrender head height, when you're trying to build when you're trying to get to your feet, it's very, very difficult because they can also control your movement in other ways. Like building height is important. It's essential. Merab slows that down so much, and he does land busy work during that time, that you just end up eating significant amounts off the clock. What you have to do, and you could see him, by the way, going for, you could see O'Malley using his guard to go for submissions underneath. But the problem in doing that is like Charles Oliveira can do that, but it's very, very rare to submit someone off of your back in high-level MMA. And this is, a bantamweight title. It doesn't get much higher than this. You have to go and set the terms for the submissions such that you force an escape, or you're able to reverse position or get to the back, right? So you can go from bottom to top, from whatever position you're in, to now collecting the back, or you force an escape. And I think leg locks are going to be some of the better opportunities for that. You saw O'Malley go for some omoplatas in the first fight, but when those fail, he kind of just retreated back to guard. The problem with the submissions from guard is if they fail, then you end up in like side control, or sometimes you can reconstitute full guard, but you don't really change the equation. Like, it's hard to submit a guy like that. So on the ground, let's see what kind of takedown defense O'Malley uses. Let's see if he invites contact, because the reality is, dude, you cannot outwork Merab. You have to have a game plan built off of hurting him. You have to have a game plan built on damage. Like this notion that like I'm gonna be able to control and out labor him, it just doesn't work. You can't do it. So to me, you have to invite contact. But the other part is, if you're gonna build height, the other thing that Merab does is the front headlock. So guys will scramble up to their knees, and then he'll front headlock them and then take them back down. He'll Turk the leg on top of it, right, to really kind of almost cradle them. These are the things you have to watch out for. And they're coming out to Lee Greenwood. Okay. They played this one when I graduated boot camp. I mean, it's not really the superstar thing, but whatever gets them going. It's a Minnesota. Born in Montana. All right. So that's what I'm looking for. How does he build height quickly, or does he change position underneath to find some kind of sub attempt that either leads to the sub or an escape or an opponent retreat, collecting the back, or going bottom to top? And if he does build height, how does he deal with the front headlock series that Merab is very good at using, breaking guys back down? Because that just eats up an enormous amount from the clock. It's funny playing Lee Greenwood, where at least I know I'm free. Yeah, I mean, they put into work the Insurrection Act tonight. I mean, give it time. Give it time. We're only 6 months into this, folks. All right. There's Sean O'Malley. His trunks match the lighting. All right, let's see about Merab. I got to say, I might like Merab's trunks more than Sean's there. All right. Why must young American prospects self-destruct? They don't all have to. They just often do. Welcome, my friend. Herat says, where is Dana? He's there. He was next to Trump. Where is Shelby Miscavige related? I don't know. How long till Power Slap fails? It'll hang on as long as Dana wants to pump money into it, but it's got no future. I mean, nobody likes it. Sort the chat. Put a minimum time frame in the comments. All right, hang on, guys. Hang on. There we go. Hang on, boys. All right. There we go. Let me fix the chat for you guys. Let me see if I can do that. I typically don't like doing it to put those restrictions on it, but if I have to, I will. All right, let's see what I can do. While you guys are suffering through this, let me try it. Okay. Let's do it. Okay. Let's see. Oh, I think someone fixed it already. Well, let's see. Slow mode. Let's do it every 30 seconds. Let's see if that helps. There we go. All right. Hopefully that helps a little bit. Oh my God, the railing broke at the Prudential Center. That's like what happened at the Skins game in front of or the Commanders game in front of Jalen Hurts. God damn, that's hilarious. Loved your recent breakdown on Substack. Keep it up, LT. Yeah, boys and girls, I'm telling you. Might be one of the most underrated things that's out there in MMA media that you can put some money into. I truly believe that. But only you can decide that, yeah? Old dude in Kayla's corner was Jimmy. Oh, was that Pedro Sr.? Okay, very good. Changing your walkout song for the president, next level cringe. Dude, liking any politician makes you like pathetic. Like I can't believe that's it's like who's your favorite boxing promoter? It's like, dude, they're all pretty sketchy. You know what I mean? Except it's worse. What muscle mass? I don't know who we're talking about here at this point. Michael Jordan, ESPN is showing Merab's walkout live on TV. Sick. That's cool. All right, let's see. There we go. All right. UFC bantamweight champion Merab. There is Aljo promoting his liquor with his chain. Always be promoting. Merab, as characteristically, looks to be in tremendous physical condition. Corner doesn't look too concerned. Merab's a tough guy to fight, man. That's a tough problem to solve. It's very, very difficult to do. We shall see if O'Malley can get close. Any news on why Sean was on crutches last month? Well, I think he was still recovering. I mean, I don't know. Also, why is Sean's strategy just lose all aura? I mean, I think he was trying to remove distraction and just focus on the competition side. But the thing about doing that is if you make these kinds of changes and you still get your ass whipped, it really changes a person in ways they don't expect. If you tell yourself in your head you can do something and you brainwash yourself into believing it, what happens when reality comes crashing into that and it shows that what you told yourself was absolutely not true? You have a hard time then listening to the inner voice going forward. It creates a huge problem. All right, 34 versus 30. Merab's a little bit older. Again, 5-inch height advantage for Sean O'Malley, 5'11 versus 5'6. He also enjoys a 4-inch reach advantage. We shall see how he uses it. It's BC. He says hi, everybody. BC says hi, everybody. Alan says, Merab is EPO manifested into reality. Yeah. I've never seen cardio like this, where you have to make no trade-offs in the way in which you want to compete because there's no limits on the cardio itself. It's absolutely insane. It's whatever. Anybody taking Sean? Anybody taking Sean? Sean can ice him here. I'm not dismissing Sean's chances. I'm just saying it's risky to like change everything like that. Because you think I'm going to clean house, right? But then what happens if you clean house and it's still dirty? Big problem. Zenpai says, what's the biggest misconception about MMA that still frustrates you after all these years? Nothing. The MMA's reputation among people who don't watch MMA. I mean, y'all can get mad at me for this. I'm just telling you how it is. The people who don't watch MMA view MMA as a sport for dumb men. And I'm sorry, that's why, like, obviously that's not true. I'm not saying it's true. I don't think it's true at all. But, you know, when you've got guys on the roster who are praising Hitler and then, you know, tons of guys with domestic violence charges, numerous of them in certain cases, and, you know, the crowd is chanting, let's go Brandon in Canada. Like, what fucking reputation do you think the outside world is going to make of MMA? MMA has absolutely earned its reputation. I'm sorry to tell you. Sorry to tell you. Oh, it's a sport that's not scientific. That's not true. But you've given the outside world absolutely every single reason to believe that. Talk about not cleaning house. This is the reality that we all have to inherit. If you're caught looking at MMA on your phone in public, just know that that's not fair. It's not fair. But the people walking by think you're stupid. All right, here's Merab. And you might be asking, like, Luke, do you ever watch MMA in public? Yeah, on the train rides up to New. Well, I mean, you know, I'm not on my phone otherwise to watch MMA, but like on the train rides up and down from New York, of course I am. You know, I guarantee those people are like, well, this fucking idiot, you know. This is where we are. This is where we are. All right. Here's your face off. Let's see. Let's go, boys. Let's go. Let's go. Okay. Possible 5 rounds. Possible 5. Let's do it. Round 1. So O'Malley pressing is going to make Merab more hittable. Even with all that movement, it's going to make him much more hittable. Remember, O'Malley would try and do these big lunging punches after getting backed up, and Merab had all the space in the world to move. Let's see what kind of kicks Sean does. Last time you saw he didn't really open up with his kicks until much later in the fight. Also, he got away from his feinting. Now Merab's on the front foot. Again, part of that can be a strategy to pull him in. There's that jagged timing. One thing you might notice is when he goes flat, not bladed, again, I said it before, he'll go into a stance, then switch, and then go to the 2. So look for the 2 off the stance switch. Now O'Malley is backed up. So in the first fight, he had to put, again, there's that 2 to the body. What did I just tell you? In the first fight, he had to go to 3 or 4 punch combinations to push Merab back and catch him when they were at this kind of range. Got a decent kind of left hand there up top. Good timing as now Merab's pressing in. Chasing off 2 punches, didn't get it. Another big issue for O'Malley in the first fight was the lead check hook of Merab. There was a little bit off the check, kind of a jab there, more truthfully. But that's what you're looking for. So, to me, this is good so far from O'Malley. Staying moving. Accepting pressure is okay if you can land on him coming in, which he's doing. But you got to be more active with the jab and put stuff in his face to deter. Again, we're looking at the kicks here up the middle. That's good. Comes over the top. But Merab got pretty good defense there. That one didn't really land. A disciplined fight from Sugar so far. Good. 2 stance switches, came over with the right. That's basically the equivalent of a 3 punch, right? So it's 1, 2, and then the third. He doesn't actually throw, but he puts himself in position like switching stance through combination would. Oh, trips up. Okay, let's see about this down blocking here. Let's see. All right, he gets behind. He's going to trip that out same way he did before. Now watch. He's going to build height here. Watch how long. Let's see how long it takes him to build it. That was pretty quick. He's got that elbow in the crook of the arm. Let's see if he tries to go for a switch. He's going to do it. He's going to pull off the underhook, and he might go for an arm drag if he gets it all the way. Good job by Sean O'Malley. Now he just has to, he's got to break the hands. Again, Merab's got this. The S grip is very easy to hold on to, which is hard to lift with it. Whoop! Sean O'Malley slips again. Good job by O'Malley that time. Much better. Much more reactive wrestling that time. Good jab from both guys. There's that shot. Not a great shot. He consolidates the position once he gets to the fence. He's bent over like this. He's not up straight, but it doesn't matter. Great job by Sean O'Malley holding his post there. Now look who's got head height. It's Merab. That's much better for Merab. It's going to make it very difficult for O'Malley to stand. He's going to have to turn and probably surrender the back. Okay, he goes to guard here. I really want to see what happens. It's 46 seconds left. I think it's better to go for submissions here than to try and build height all the time. However, much better ground and pound too. He's opening up better. So I think going for submissions from this position is okay, but I don't think it's nearly as good as inverting. And then again, he sits up. There it is. There's the front headlock. Everything I told you was going to happen in this fight is happening. Everything. But I will say, good job by O'Malley building height pretty quickly for the most part. I did not like the strategy of the guard. I don't think that that's a path to anything. But good first round. Great first round. Enjoyable. Liking a politician is similar to liking someone named Brian. It's hard enough to find one that's not sketchy. Nicholas says, given his cardio, what's Merab's marathon time? I don't know. Fuck a marathon. He can run like one of those 100 milers. Alan says, Sean can't handle this pace, though. You have to hurt Merab. Nobody can handle this pace. Nobody can. You have to hurt him. That is the only way. There's no other way. All right, here we go. Round 2. All right, let's do this. Wheel kick from O'Malley doesn't go anywhere. Double jab right to the body from O'Malley. That's good work. Let's get back to some of that kicking, O'Malley. Good right hand. Oh, good 1-2 there. Or actually, I'd say good 2-3 from Merab as O'Malley overcommitted on his position. Oh, good right hand from O'Malley after a follow-up from Merab. Nice. Good jab to the body. Or actually, I would say jab to the chest from O'Malley, and then he got leg kicked for his efforts. That check hook from Merab starting to play a role here. O'Malley's got to get a little bit more active. And I know I'm focusing on him, but it's like he's the one that's got the most that has to change. Merab doesn't have to change that. I mean, he has to have some kind of answer for whatever the changes are of O'Malley, and he catches the underhook. Good takedown defense from O'Malley. By the way, I noticed this in the first fight. O'Malley's single leg defense much better than his double leg defense. So when Merab was trying to do these pickup singles, he only got 6 out of 15. So he whiffed on the majority of them. And the majority of the ones he whiffed on were single legs. So pay attention to that, single versus doubles, and what the success rate is. Okay, this is O'Malley's doing well to, not be taken down, but you got to put some offense on it, brother. Let's see. Mm. Good timing on that takedown by Merab. Great takedown defense, reactive takedown defense. Good, there it is. Man, that was a brilliant left hand from Sean O'Malley. That was good. Oh, good right hand from Merab. This is a good fight. Merab's going to have to get part of his glove cut, or the tape on the glove, or I should say the gauze. You can see it on his right hand. Okay. O'Malley recaptures center. About a minute to go. Right to the body. Merab's doing a great job. Good takedown defense as well. Merab's doing a great job countering every time you see O'Malley go to that 2 to the body. He's putting a 2-3 together off of it. It's nice work. Here's the single leg pickup. Man, much better job by Sean O'Malley this fight. Much better job. But he's got to put something behind it. Tries to snipe him with the right hand, only kind of glances him. Oh, home run left hand from O'Malley. He pulled him into position. Oh, man. Pretty great round. Pretty great round. And they're going to cut the gauze there. Pretty great round. Let's see. Yeah, so told him to go to the body after defending the takedown. Or after, I guess, O'Malley defends it. I like that. I love that 2-3 that Merab's got off the 2 to the body from O'Malley. There it is. Boom, boom. Actually, it's kind of, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a 2-3, but all right. Here we go. Round 3. Round 3. Let's see. I'm not scoring any of these, so I don't know how you guys feel about the scoring. There's that overhand trap dump. Oh, Merab's going to get clipped doing this. He gets stuffed again. The takedown defense is okay. The double he gets. What did I just say? What did I just say? The singles he fails on, the doubles they have a much higher success rate. What did you see there? A double. And I'm sorry to keep doing this. Like, what did I say? But truly, you know, I see a lot on tape and I have no one else to tell but you guys. You know what I mean? So thank you for listening to me. All right, here we go. Open guard here for O'Malley. I don't believe in this. 2 knees on the ground, chest to chest. There's nothing there. Remember that. 2 knees on the ground, chest to chest. There's nothing. Some part of that has to change. 1 knee has to come up. The posture has to come up. Something. Something has to happen. Remember, Merab will stall here. He will stall. There's no meaningful offense from this. And what do you notice? What do you notice? They're all talking about him building height. You don't have to build height. You have to be able to invert. You have to be able to invert. You might be saying, how fatiguing is it? Because you hear the commentary team doing what Merab is doing, like putting you in this position. And the answer is actually much more fatiguing than you imagine. But this is borderline stalling to me. It's not quite stalling, but it's up there. Okay, so it looks to me like Sean had a lot better answers in a lot of departments, except this one. This one, he is still just kind of stuck here. That's a little bit better. Merab creating a little bit more space. Okay, now he's on his side. Knees to the body from Merab. Those are sick. Love that. O'Malley's trying to get off the flat of his back, which is good, but this is not. Yeah, he did not have the right answer for this. He's trying to get to his base. Merab trying to pull him back down. He's going to try and walk. This is better. Now he's going to get to the back of the fence, and he's just going to, now he's going to build height. He's got that elbow to wrench the grip, to fatigue the grip, which he'll use when he stands. Now watch on the clinch break. Watch on the clinch break. Watch when they break. Well, now it's back to a more reconsolidated position. Okay. Let's see. Oh my God, man. Merab is relentless. This is what I mean, dude. You have to have some kind of way to reset the position. You have to invert. And now look, Merab has head height here. Big advantage. It's gonna make it very hard to stand unless he completely gives it up or turns. Yep, it lets him have it. Casoto hook. Pulls him back down. All right, so this is a clear Merab round. I could see it being 3-0 Merab or 2-1, right? Something like that. Okay, and there's the front headlock. And now he's going to threaten with the ninja choke. He's going to threaten. No, there's no choke, but he's going to turn him back down with it. Again, the front headlock. What do we talk about? Even if you build height, he's still going to have that front headlock series. Oh, he might tap him here. Wow. I stand corrected. I didn't think he was a submission threat. He sure is. And that was an Ezekiel choke. Let's see it. Or let's like it's sort of like a rear naked choke front facing. That's sick. And then all the fighters are like, oh, with Trump. Like they all do that. That was sick. So I'm trying to think about the mechanics of doing that upside down. Yeah. It's kind of, I have to go back and look at the grip exactly, but it looked like it kind of like a north-south. I have to see exactly how he did it. Great win by Merab. Great win. But dude, this is what we mean, man. Like you can't, you got to have an answer for underneath for him. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it in the post-fight show. Let's do this. Oops. Hold on. There it is. All right, here's some of these takedowns. You can see he's going to turn him back to the empty plane. So he locks up the ninja choke, or what they call the power guillotine, right? Right there it is. Right, he comes in front. It's the power guillotine, aka the ninja choke. O'Malley tries to go back down. At first, it was over his face, right? If you look, it's actually across the chin, right? And there's a lot of daylight there, which is why I was kind of sleeping on it. You can even see the beard of O'Malley. But then when he reconsolidates the position here and then jumps on, oh, look at that. And he put his whole chest on top. Yeah. Wow. So this arm, this is holding this arm in place. This one is kind of chopping down, and he's putting his weight on top of it to seal it. That's sick. Oh, that's amazing. All right. Do we think Dana White goes to the post-fight press conference? I don't know. There's Corey. Corey, to me, is the most interesting challenge to Merab by far. All right, here's Joe. Okay, all the fighters. Golly, guys. Get a personality. Merab is feeling himself, which he should. That was a great win. Yeah, that choke is weird. It's like an Ezekiel, right? It's sort of like an Ezekiel. Yeah, interesting. O'Malley took his gloves off. Now, I don't know if he's retiring. I don't imagine that he is, but I want to hear what he has to say. All right, so there's the choke. Turns him. You see, it's on his face. He turns it, and then it slides over. Yeah, it slides over. Yeah, and then the chest goes on top, and then the arm on top goes on top. That's sick. That's sick. There's the double. We talked about it again. The doubles are his best against O'Malley. There's the Casoto hook. Took him down again. All right, so there's the power. That's a power guillotine. He's going to roll. He's going to follow it, but he's going to stay on top. So then this hand has to go on this one. Yeah, and then you have to drive. It's like a north-south Ezekiel. That's interesting. All right, Merab shouting out his whole team. Aljamain's getting his props. I like his jokes too. Merab talking about Corey. All right, I want to hear it. This motherfucker took his gloves off. I want to hear from O'Malley. All right, let's hear from O'Malley. All right, here's Joe and Sean. That's cool. Sean thanks the crowd. Says he wanted to stick around and thank everyone. Classy. Very good. Classy. All right. Let me tell the knuckleheads on Twitter that the post-fight show is about to start, and then the post-fight show is going to start. Let's do this. All right. Let's do this. All right. Does this... Okay. All right. How about it? Let's do this now on the... Okay. All right. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to quickly use the little boys' room, and then we're going to get this going. All right? So hang on just 1 second. Just have a little faith. Have a little faith. Right? All right. Be right back. All right. All right. All right. Here we go. Let's turn this off, or mute it at a bare minimum. Let's turn that off. Let's actually pull up the stats. Okay. And then we're going to talk about it. All right. Let's turn this off. Okay. Welcome, everyone. Hi. My name is Luke Thomas. It's 1:10 a.m. in the morning here on the 8th of June, 2025. It is now time for the UFC 316 post-fight show. The event is now over. It is in the books. We have our two champions, and we have the rest of the main card results to get to. If you're watching now and you haven't already, thumbs up on the video. If you're watching now and you haven't already, please subscribe. It actually does a lot for me when you do. And I would be very grateful for your patronage. Please subscribe now if you haven't. And then, of course, if you want to get a question in for like the last 20-ish minutes of the post-fight show, fire that sucker into the super chat, please. And then we'll get to all of your questions after the show. Okay? We got a lot to get to. So without further ado, let's get this party started, shall we? Okay, I'm going to plug this one more time, and I might leave it up for just a little bit here. This is the QR code to my Substack. There's a link in the description box below. We did tape study for this main event on Friday. It's called Fight Day. It was episode 4. We did tape study for this, and we went over all of the things that we said that Sean had to have an answer for. We said we went through all of them. And I really feel like that analysis held up. If you want what I think is some of the best, again, there's a lot of really good analysts who do a lot of work, in many cases much better than mine. But in terms of the way in which I package this, I feel very, very strongly about this. This is where you need to be, right here. Okay. All right. Now, let's talk about the results. Okay. I'm going to pull them up here. And we're going to talk about it. All right. UFC 316 is in the books. Let's get to it now. This event, it took place at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. Quite the shithole, if ever there was one. Neither here nor there. Just want to put that out there. All right. The Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. In your main event, Merab Dvalishvili defeats Sean O'Malley. They're calling it North-South choke. It's kind of like a weird version of it, but nevertheless, a North-South choke at 4:42 of the 3rd round. All right. So what is the story of this fight? The story of this fight, I think, is 2 big things, now that I think about it. The first, and we'll get to all of the nuts and bolts about this, the first part of the story is about all of the improvements that Sean O'Malley had to make. All of the things that caused him problems in the first fight and having to answer for that this time. I don't mean changing his focus like he's not jacking off, which was literally a thing that he brought up, or not dyeing his hair, or, not smoking weed and no social media. Those are fine things to do, especially anything that's taking away your focus, but that's really not what I'm talking about. Not exactly. What I'm talking about is the very specific conditions in the first fight that caused him problems. As you saw, a inability to build height quickly, an inability to extract himself off the fence quickly. Even when he was able to get to his base, the front headlock series from Merab, which he would marry with a Turk, it's a huge problem. And then, of course, on the feet, that this would, all the movement and all the pressure and then all the takedowns, and then this is the sort of the threat of it all, minimizing the amount of offense that he threw on the feet and minimizing the kind of offenses he was able to get off, which is another big problem that he has. Okay, so these are all the major parts. And then underneath, if you're getting taken down, what do you do if you're in a guard scenario? We went through all of this right here. We went through all of it. So that's the first part. The first part was, how many of those things could he have an answer for here tonight? The second part, which was hard to know and hard to understand or at least predict, was at 34, what else can Merab add to his game? People might make the story tonight about Merab's cardio. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. Merab's got the best cardio that I've ever seen in MMA. And I've been watching the sport I've been watching this fucking sport since the 90s. He's got the best cardio I've ever seen. I want to make that abundantly clear. But that's really, yes, he fought a high pace, but the fight didn't even go a full 15. That's really not the story of this. The story of this is, to me, picking up where he left off a little bit against Umar. Dude, his game is getting better. He has not plateaued at all. His game is getting better. And the fight against Umar revealed some of those details. And this fight revealed some of those details. And to me, the area that the first and the second point are actually related. Sometimes they're not related because of the way in which the fight goes. But in this case, they're related. O'Malley's inability to answer for some of, now he did have some great answers, I thought, in terms of some other things. I thought his takedown defense generally, I mean, there's obviously some problems with it, but relative to the first fight, it was better. He made some notable improvements there. Okay. But one area he made seemingly no improvement on is what happens if you get double-legged, put on your back, and now you're working from a guard scenario. As you heard me describe, if you just caught the watch-along, or perhaps you heard it another place, if you go back and you watch the first fight, Merab only gets 6 of 15 takedowns, just 6 of 15. So he got 9 stuffed. The vast majority of those 9 were single legs, single leg like pickups. Now, again, a couple of single legs got through. It's not all of them, but the majority of them are all single legs. The doubles, he had a much higher success rate. So that's why I actually brought up the double, because the double goes where? If you have locked hands on the double and you're picking them up and you're dumping them and now you're facing them, Merab does this bit where he goes chest to chest, 2 knees down, and then kind of waits to see what you give him. And then he goes into his ground and pound series, and then guys turn to the right, and that's when he really begins to open it up. And then they start to build height, and then he controls them off the front headlock series and usually whips them back down. This time he goes for a power guillotine. O'Malley rolls, and then he uses that to bring this hand and then the chest on top to really kind of close the show. That's a new wrinkle, folks. Normally in that scenario, and what he did in the first fight was he would go, maybe one arm around the neck, one behind the arm, and he's grabbing the blade of his hand here, or maybe the middle finger to the inside wrist, and he's snapping him back down. But there's no real submission threat there. You can still kind of stall. Now he's using the position that he has been using all this time, and he's adding an element of danger to it. And he didn't even get a good bite on the choke. As we saw, it was well above the jawline. You could see hair underneath. You could see O'Malley's hair underneath the choke that Merab was doing. But he followed it through the whole point, I said it when we were watching, is just to turn him. I didn't think he was going to follow up with a submission. He's expecting them to turn. And when they turn, I'm now putting this together, having watched what happened. When they turn, right, because he's cranking the jaw, when they turn, they slide into this kind of no-gi Ezekiel, like a north-south Ezekiel. That's new. That's new. That is certifiably new from Merab. Now, he may have done it at previous points in his career, but against like UFC level guys where you have to be cautious is not the right word, but thoughtful about what submissions you go for and well rehearsed and practiced. That's new. That's new. Dude, Merab is a motherfucker. Whoa. That's a tough fucking challenge, man. That's a tough challenge. If he can start weaponizing submissions from static control positions that he can both have a degree of comfortability on, and remember, it's all part of his game. So he is expecting you to be in some of these scenarios. He's slowing your ascent as you get to your base. It's not like it's happening quickly and he has to just latch on. It's the slow accumulation to your base. And then by the time you're even there, he's been looking for that front headlock all this time. Well, now it's power guillotine into north-south Ezekiel. Holy shit. Holy shit. Dude, Merab is tough to beat. That is such a difficult puzzle to solve. Just the physical aspect of what he brings, just that is already historically without parallel. Not that he's the strongest, but that he can apply his A game through every single minute of this fight, of any fight. And that gives him access to his best tools through every single minute of the fight. When you start having to ration your offense, you don't have access to your A game as often. You might have to resort to parts of your B game, or your A game kind of looks like your B game. That's not his issue. He doesn't have that. He doesn't have that in the first minute or the 50 or the 15th or the 25th. He has access to all of the A game. And up to this point, the A game was a lot of static control positions, anticipated getting to the base, anticipated ascents, and he could then, slow it down, throw busy shots, land something on the clinch break. Now he can create fight-ending scenarios from it. While even if that choke had failed, he still got O'Malley all the way ass over tea kettle back down. That's a tough riddle to solve. That's a tough riddle to solve. If you want to beat Merab, right? If you want to beat him, you have to have a way to maintain some kind of consistent presence with the jab, or at a bare minimum, you're striking. You can pick how that wants to go. I don't see how you can really do it without some kind of long range, establishing weapons, but whatever, or maybe even mid range. You have to be consistent with that. But more to the point, you really have to have an answer in the grappling department. If he is going to take you down, you cannot play the guard game from there. We talked about this here. You cannot do it. Yeah, the first fight you saw O'Malley go for a couple of omoplatas, but one time he held the glove. You saw him go for like some arm bars underneath, and he held the glove. It was kind of an issue in the first fight. He didn't even really get around to that in this particular fight. And more to the point, even if you're able to get those submissions, or at least, lock them up, and then they have to answer for them, if they fail, which again, submitting someone from guard in high-level MMA is exceedingly rare. It doesn't happen very often. And usually it's like you got to hurt them first and then catch them. It's very, very difficult to do. And if you fail, you might recapture guard. You might end up in side control, but you're still in a negative position. You have to create a submission scenario that, if it fails, allows you to go bottom to top. Or even if you don't get it, the opponent forces an escape, or it creates back exposure, right? You have to have some kind of way to turn a submission attempt that fails into something else of positional attainment. And to me, leg locks in MMA have not had a big place. And I don't know how scalable this idea is. I don't think everybody can do it. But I think some guys will be able to do it. Somebody who can get behind him on backside 50-50 or a calf slicer, and then use that to ultimately potentially take the back, or come back up on 50-50. I think you saw Sandhagen do to Figueiredo, where if they don't go back down, their leg gets snatched, right? But he's using this all from similar series of leg entanglements by he's not accepting what you put him on in that scenario, right? He's now inverting, and I'm going to go. How do you win a scramble in wrestling? Well, the best way to do it is to be the one initiating it, initiating terms. Merab has an extraordinary ability to make people fight under their terms. Even if it looks like they're striking under relatively neutral terms, it's still, over the course of time, typically Merab's, because now they're throwing a little bit less. Now they're a little more cautious. Now they're a little bit more unsure of committing positionally. Now they're, it compounds and compounds and compounds. He has this incredible ability to just define the terms of the fight. People think it's cardio, and of course his cardio is without parallel. But there's so much more to his game than that. And then the grappling game and the way in which he chains these islands of control positions together slows how you get from one to the next. So it's utterly predictable. And so by the time you're there, he's already thinking about this. You're just trying to get your base under you. And before, you could just rely on him not doing anything with it, or, other than the controlling of itself. Now he will put your ass to sleep with it. That's a tough assignment. That's a really, really, really difficult assignment for any bantamweight. Dude, Merab's the fucking man. Let's talk about Merab here for just a second if we can. This is a guy who you had to respect him, certainly after, like, you could pick whatever fight you want, the Cejudo fight, the Jan fight, whatever. You could have respected him long before that, of course, but I'm saying, like, oh, he's like title worthy good, after one of those. Well, Aldo fight kind of sucked, but whatever. But you had to respect, like, what he offered. Okay. But, like, in the last two fights, I feel like the fact that you had a contender in Umar who could challenge him in new ways, it forced Merab to show us something new. I felt like Merab showed us like absolutely not just more personality and a belief in, and showmanship. That's a fun thing to do, but his takedown defense was fucking lights out in that fight. Umar, I think he thought he was going to get to much more, like he was going to wrestle his way to control positions. Good fucking luck with that. He shut that shit down. Right. And then the showmanship with it. I think the fans really realized, like, dude, this guy is on a legendary, we're going to talk about it, a legendary win streak here at this point. I mean, this is incredible what he's got going on. And now he's beginning to play to the crowd, and he's beating the guys that everyone, like, I thought Umar was going to win, and then he's beating Umar, and you're like, wow, dude, this guy's something special. And then in this fight, now, granted, the controversy of this fight, we'll talk about in just a second, whether O'Malley even deserved to be in this particular place. But okay, a guy who was a former champion gets a second crack at him, and off of surgery, like the things that he needed to get right, makes all these other changes and gets finished much quicker. You don't even make it to the championship rounds. Like, what the challenges are making him show up for, and like as the challenges get tougher, his performances are getting not just better, but more revealing. Like, the depths of his game each time are bearing new fruit all the way through. And he's 34 years old. It doesn't, to me, show many signs of decline at all. I mean, we'll see about the 35 thing, you know, as a statistical marker, but what a performance by him. What a win streak by him. Let's go through this win streak real quickly, right? This is his win streak. So he lost 2 fights in a row to Frankie Saenz and Ricky Simon. Can you believe that? Since then, he's beaten Terrion Ware, Brad Katona, Casey Kenny, Gustavo Lopez, John Dodson, Cody Stamen. He finished Marlon Moraes. Then Jose Aldo, Piotr Jan, Henry Cejudo, Sean O'Malley, Umar Nurmagomedov, Sean O'Malley again, and submits him. God damn. That is an impressive fucking win streak. Whoa. That might be between, you know, anybody who was a champion or like close to it, or like in title, you know, title fights, or anybody who was a champion, anyone with like proximity to the belt, like between you being a contender and then you being a champion, that might be the best win streak I've ever seen. I mean, there's, you know, obviously Anderson Silva's win streak is, you know, legendary, but you know, certainly in this weight class, that is, I mean, that's just apex predator shit. He's the apex predator. It's easy. You can take Merab's game and literally apply it to anybody in that division, and you're like, you can figure out how he could win. You have to like imagine scenarios for the other guys. Like, okay, well, maybe if he could pull this off, and maybe if he could get that, and maybe if this goes right, he could piece together 3 rounds, or, you know, get lucky or something. You know, and again, look at what I was saying before, where if you're going to have a striking game plan based on fighting Merab, you have to do it with like maximum damage in mind. Like, he makes you have to take all this insane and unnecessary risk, because the conventional ways, like the ways in which, like the right way to fight, and this is how you beat an opponent, it doesn't work on him. He literally is so good and so dominant and such a difficult puzzle to solve that you have to take the conventional rules about how you beat someone with, you know, similar traits and just chuck them out the window. It doesn't do you any good. It doesn't matter. It doesn't work. You have to rethink and take unnecessary, or otherwise, I should say, unnecessary risks in order to do it. He has a claim to me. Now, obviously, the championship reign isn't long enough, but I'm not sure I've seen a better bantamweight. You can decide ultimately, and I typically tend to side with the, you know, the amount of title defenses as like the true defining marker. He doesn't have as many as some of the other ones. So you can pick TJ if you want, and I wouldn't really argue too much with you. You could pick Dominic Cruz. He's got a very good argument for it. I wouldn't argue with you. But if you wanted to pick Merab and you wanted to say, and this is what I will say, the other champions might have more, slightly at this point, slightly more decorated records as championship figures in this division. That's the most dominant force at championship bantamweight I've ever seen, and I've seen them all. That's the most dominant force. That's the most difficult riddle to solve. Cruz's striking early was difficult in the early days. This movement he would have and these unorthodox, switching his foot position and whatnot. That was a big challenge early, but there were still ways to get around it. And he wasn't necessarily, he could work a lot, but he was tearing him up. He had to get, Botox shots to the bottom of his feet, in order to be able to compete. Like, it was tearing him up. It was like a real cost, and he was injured all the time. Merab is the most dominant championship force I've ever seen in MMA. It's him. It's him. So if you want to make claims about who had more decorated runs as champion, it's fine. I'm not going to go to the mat on this. He's the most dominant force. But I will say this. It looked like Corey Sandhagen is next. Merab is happy to fight him. Corey Sandhagen's ability to invert and leg lock, it is not a high percentage way to win. It's not a high percentage way to normally compete. But what is the alternative? What is the alternative? To keep playing, I'm going to defend the double against the fence. He's going to snatch me out with a Kosoto hook, and then I'm going to try and build height, and then he's going to wrap me up with some kind of Turk and front headlock series, and he's going to rinse and repeat this, and he's going to flatten me on my guard, and then we're just going to play this game for 3-4 rounds. Like, it's not a realistic path. You can't beat him at that game. Not now. Maybe if he keeps going, he gets old and it all falls apart, fine. But it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Merab, the best compliment I can say to him is they have to look at the rule book and be like, well, that's for the mortals. This is not a mortal. I can use this game. I can use these like rules of how you fight against all these other bozos. It doesn't work on him. It doesn't work on him for shit. And this is after I thought, and you watched during the broadcast, I thought O'Malley had some pretty good changes in some other ways. The overall, the takedown defense was better. He was, let me look at some of the numbers here if we can for O'Malley. Let me refresh here. Yeah, so O'Malley, these were his numbers per round. I'll show them to you here. Take a look. Let's see. Where the fuck are, here we go. Okay. So these are the numbers. Take a look here. Oops, excuse me. We'll do it this way. Yeah, there we go. These are the numbers from this is the first fight. So this is 306. This is not tonight. So just look at O'Malley's overall significant strike totals. Again, these don't tell the story, but we're just looking. 14, 5, 11, 6, and 11. So hardly anything. So let's go back now to tonight. What did he have tonight per round? 12, 19. So already these are more than he even had. So he had some of this right. Some of this was more consistent. But then he gets to here and he just look at that stat line. 3 out of 5 strikes, 0 knockdowns, 0 significant strikes, 0% significant strikes, obviously over the total. No takedowns, no subs, no reversals, no control time. He almost zeroed them out here on this last one. Pretty amazing. Let's look at the targeting from the first fight. Where was O'Malley targeting? O'Malley's in the red here. O'Malley was targeting basically an even split head to body. That's the first fight. So let's see about this fight. I don't think it's going to change much. Almost identical. Here he is in the blue. Almost identical. Almost identical. I think Merab upped this a little bit. Let's go back and see that real quick. Merab's targeting 67-28. Actually went to the body more this time, Merab did. All right? Let's see. Yeah, he did. He went to the body much more. Interesting. Also, I got to say, it's not just the fact that he had, remember, he locks up the power guillotine, the ninja choke. He tries to roll into it and turns it into some kind of like, Ezekiel there, some kind of almost like some kind of like no-gi bread cutter. I mean, some kind of weird submission. But remember, there was another adjustment that he made on the feet. So before, what he was using was that left-handed check hook. That check hook. He was kind of jabbing a little bit with it. But it was check hook. And anytime O'Malley was lowering his level and then going for the 2 to the body, right, which was common. What did he do this time? he would kind of like wait for it, and then he would explode, with a 2 and then a 3 right behind it. And that was landing. And then he could back him up into the fence and then re-level change and shoot after that. So it's not just in the submission department that he got more dangerous, although that is a significant development. Even in the striking department, he added a new wrinkle. Now, granted, that one is partly based off of what they learned the first time rather than, I think, on the fly. But still, it's a new wrinkle that they added to his game in the event that he's getting pressured with these kind of 2s to the body. He can now go to it, and he was able to effectively use it. That is an extremely difficult riddle to solve. An extremely difficult riddle to solve. The most dominant force at bantamweight I've ever seen. That's what it is. If you got a question about it, put it into the super chat and we'll get to it here at the end. Let's talk about the co-main event if we can. Oh, by the way, one more, if I may. Where Sean O'Malley goes from here. He could go to bantamweight. He could wait and hang around and see, like, I could fight. He could fight other, I'm saying I, like I'm him. Like, he could fight other bantamweights and then kind of wait for Merab to get old or something. It's not like, again, there were some meaningful improvements there. It's like, people are like, oh, Sean looked worse. No, he didn't. He got submitted because Merab has now weaponized things that weren't weaponized before. But that there was, in most ways, not all, as we talked about, but in most ways, or I should say, in many ways, O'Malley looked better here. So he can stick around. I think going to 45 might be kind of interesting. But he's now officially in the Rich Franklin position. And when Rich Franklin was in the Rich Franklin position, do you know what he was doing? He was going 205, 85, 205, 85. I mean, not exactly like that, but he would move between the two divisions based on which one gave him the most opportunity. Insane. All right, let's talk about that co-main event if we can here at UFC 316. Kayla Harrison just runs over Julianna Peña. We knew what the score was here. Julianna Peña having a 25% takedown defensive rate, not great. If she was going to win, it was going to be on speed, and it was going to be on blitzing and overwhelming Harrison, who has a significant weight cut, doesn't really look herself at this weight class. Again, she competed at 172 pounds in judo and got the job done there. But the 25% takedown defensive rate is kind of poor. I mean, it's very poor, especially for a champion. And then on top of it, like, where is Kayla's best work? Her best work is going to be ground and pound. Now, in this particular case, she had a submission. She does have submissions on her record. That's no surprise. But we even talked about it, right? She had the arm through the back, captured the far side wrist, and I even said it on the live stream. It's like, she's got to come more from there if she wants it, and you can move into a different position because you can have that wrist control when you need it, depending on how they roll. And sure enough, she goes to side control and then steps over the head and then fires it over. Once they step over the head, it's game over. You can finish the Kimura without stepping over the head, but if you can step over the head, you can place a foot for maximum crank and they can't sit up. I mean, that's you're going to get your shit broken if you don't tap at that point. I don't really want to spend this portion of the broadcast kind of shitting on Julianna Peña, except to say, not a strong performance. She was overwhelmed by a much better fighter and a much better athlete. Somebody who probably shouldn't even be in this weight class, if we're being honest, but is, because that's the way the business works. And so this is where we are. For Kayla Harrison, I thought she looked a little bit better than she did against relative to, what was it? The Ketlin Vieira fight was the last one that she was in prior to this one. I believe that's right. Yeah, the Ketlin Vieira fight. Kayla Vieira fight, she got lit up a little bit on the feet. She had a hard time closing distance. Some of the takedowns failed. And this one, you could see a couple of the takedowns failed, right? She'd get an underhook and try to go to the right for the inside trip, and then couldn't get it. So then she would step to the other side. And then, again, almost like a Casoto hook, just kind of pull her off the fence and then get on top. And that's what you saw here. She's able to level change a little bit. But she added a couple of things in the striking department. She usually uses that inside leg kick off of opposite stance. You saw that here tonight. But then she added some other things too. Some like, some feints and then some lancing jabs and then putting combinations, collecting, an underhook and then running her into the fence. Just being a little bit more savvy about mixing things up and having some more options to establish contact, and then at the fence, reconsolidate the position and then go from there. I wouldn't say that we learned anything tremendous about this. I'm going to say this, though. I don't know how many more times Kayla can make that weight cut. You just heard a two-time judo Olympian Gold medalist. Gold medalist. That's the best judoka this country has ever produced, male or female. The closest would be a man, Travis Stevens, who got a silver. And then the second closest after that would be Jimmy Pedro, who I think got a bronze. No one's gotten a gold except her, and she's got 2 of them. She got 2 of them. She was telling you she wanted to quit because of that weight cut. She was mentally done. And this fight didn't go long enough for us to get any answers about what that looks like at 35. You know, we don't really know, right? We didn't get to see championship rounds. I don't know. She can't have that many more of these. Now, obviously, she'll have one more against Amanda Nunes, and that is great. We'll talk about that in a second. But I hope, you know, I'm not saying her fights are always the most dynamic, but she's a very good fighter. She's a UFC champion. She's a remarkable combat athlete, and she's not going to be here for a whole lot longer. There is a very narrow window of how many times she can keep doing this. And it might be one more. Honestly, if it's one more and no more after that, would you be surprised? I don't think so. Now, it takes us to the more interesting part of the story, which is we're going to get Kayla versus Amanda. Amanda Nunes, who declared her, she had telegraphed it many days in advance, but she made it clear that, let me make sure I'm not getting, here we go. Oh, Longo sent me a message. Hey, Ray Longo sent me a message. Oh, cool. Shouts to Ray Longo. Shouts to Ray Longo, one of these guys who's produced just champion after champion, lights out after lights out. A remarkable coach and team that Merab has behind him. John Wood, Ray Longo, Matt Serra, Aljamain. You saw it, all those guys. Al to an extent, I suppose, as well. A lot of interesting names. All right. Anyway, point I wanted to make was Kayla and Amanda. Amanda's going to come back. I don't know when this fight's going to be. Probably 3rd or 4th quarter this year. Probably 4th. The women's game needs this so freaking bad. There hasn't been a fight in the women's game of significant magnitude, and I can't even remember. That's not, again, I said it before. That doesn't mean there's not good women's fighters. There are. Women fighters, there are. That doesn't mean there's not good champions. There are. That doesn't mean there's not women fighters that we cheer for. There are. But the women's game, the problem with making this argument is that MMA is filled with dudes who have mom issues and or don't get laid. And so they have a view of women you can't take seriously. But for those of us who have at least a relatively halfway normal relationship to the women in our lives, what I can say is there is no argument to be made that women's MMA is not in decline right now. Now, that doesn't mean it's inexorable decline. That doesn't mean it's like, you know, some years it's great and some years it's down and it could go back to being great. I'm not making that argument. It very well could. But whatever's happening, this is a down period. And it's a down period, it feels like, in technical maturation and quality of athlete and just the kind of spectacle that women's MMA used to give. You know, not everyone can be Ronda, but not everyone needs to be Ronda. Kayla's never going to be Ronda as a premier attraction. That's really not what she's going to offer. But she's an interesting fighter. She's a winning fighter. She has proven her worth into UFC. Obviously, with PFL having a bit of a rough night, we'll talk about Patchy Mix here in just a second. You know, she clearly has proven her worth. And this fight against Amanda is right on time. That division needs it. The women's game needs it. Frankly, MMA needs it. MMA needs as many big fights in all the different directions. Flyweight, heavyweight, women's bantamweight, you name it. It kind of needs any of those things. Anything that can breathe a little life into it. Now, granted, this is the beginning of a great summer cycle. We all know that. But I don't know how you can look at this and say, like, oh, yeah, we don't really need this fight. We need this fight desperately. Desperately, we need this fight. So I look forward to it. I would favor Amanda. Again, I think some of the issues that Peña was not able to exploit, someone like Amanda might be able to. But the fact that we're even at this point is exactly where we need to be, and I'm thrilled for it. Didn't learn a lot about Harrison today. Didn't need to. Peña, we'll see what happens. All right, Joe Pyfer defeating Kelvin Gastelum 29-28, 29-27, 30-27. Gastelum's in a tough spot because he's kind of maxed out at what he can do at 85, and he's kind of maxed out what he can do at 170, and there's no tweener division. And he's still durable. He's still good. He doesn't look shabby by any stretch. I mean, he looked like he had some loose change today because he's fighting at 85, but he didn't look bad to me. He looked pretty good to me. I mean, relatively good anyway. He got whooped in the first round, but by the time the third round ended, I felt like, okay, there was something there. Like, well, this was more interesting. But he's in a tough spot. I don't know where he's supposed to go to maximize what he's doing. I don't know where he's supposed to go to get the best out of himself. He's not too old and he's not too shop worn, but I think he's kind of plateaued. He doesn't have the same abilities or relative to the rest of the pack that he once did. And it just like, it feels like he's trying to like hold on to this thing and it just keeps slipping through his fingers in order to get to something else. Joe Pyfer, I thought for the most part, certainly in round one, looked like a Terminator. Great balance, huge power, finding it with the overhand, finding it with some of the body shots, head kick, you name it. He looked terrifying. Second round, a lot closer, but still better for Pyfer relative to Gastelum. Wasn't able to get off as much, but the shots he did land rattled him. And Gastelum had a very hard time closing distance, not a whole lot of level changing. But by round three, that changed a little bit. He was putting a little bit more pressure on him to back up, which now makes him narrow. It constrains his defensive options. So he makes him more predictable defensively. And he was able to mix in takedown attempts, which didn't necessarily go anywhere, but it allowed him to establish contact. If you're having trouble making contact with him because you can't get inside their reach, wrestle them to shoot into them. You don't even have to have a nice shot. You can run them with a bent back all the way to the fence, or you can just, go for a body lock, or you can just use it to, land something on the clinch break, whatever, pressure into them, move them backwards, any kind of thing. And he didn't seem to pick up on that until later in the fight. But then when he did, it kind of made a bit of a difference. He landed some good combinations on Pyfer. As you see, 30-27 to me doesn't seem right, but 29-28 and 29-27 seems fine. You could have given a 10-8 first round to Pyfer. But Pyfer looked fine, looked good even. I don't know that we learned a whole lot from the Jack Hermanson fight. Jack Hermanson fight was he kind of faded down the stretch. He was fading down the stretch in this one. This is a 5-round fight. Are you sure Gastelum loses it? Now, the answer is you might say, well, probably. Maybe all Pyfer would have to do is win one of the next two. Okay, that's true. But, like, Gastelum was picking it up there. And it seems to me that, like, the hallmark of someone who's great is not just – and I'm not saying that Pyfer is a front runner. What I'm saying is if your game doesn't hold up through the rounds or the things that you're good at, you can't maintain – that means your game is limited, right? Oh, my A game worked. Okay, well, let's take away some of the conditions under which your A game worked. Let's see what your B game looks like. Or your ability, even if they try to take it away, you can just still force the A game on them. But he couldn't do that. They got taken away. What's the B game? Well, the B game wasn't really, it was fine. It wasn't great. So to me, a nice win. He got to be back in the ring or the octagon. He said it'd been almost a year. Fair enough. If he can get out there more regularly, maybe we'll see some of this stuff. But if you're still fading down the stretch, that's a problem. That's a problem. That's a problem that's going to rear its head again. And that's not me trying to be a hater. That's just me looking at the tea leaves and being like, bro, I know how this goes. Someone else is going to last into the fourth round when you get a fourth round fight. And now what are you going to do about it? I didn't think he got tired. I did not think he looked winded. I think maybe a little bit in the third, a little bit, but not much. He just seemed like he was reacting to like a better game plan from Gastelum. Gastelum having more energy, Gastelum having more effort. So it's not like Gastelum all of a sudden, has no one to fight anymore or has nothing to do, but the pack is lapping him and it's doing it in both weight classes. And that creates for a very, very, very difficult position for him. Where he goes from here, I'm not sure. For Pyfer, up the food chain, but to me, there's still a lot to prove there. All right, let's talk about this one. Mario Bautista defeats Patchy Mix unanimous 29-28, 30-27. I'm not sure which round you'd give Mix. I guess maybe round one. I don't know. Or maybe, well, I guess no, you give him round 3 because he landed some good shots right at the end. This was a terrible showing for Patchy Mix. Terrible. Guys, I've said it before. I'll say it again. The guy who won the Bellator Bantamweight Grand Prix at that time was the best bantamweight in the world, or at least had a claim at it. And then something happened where, I mean, it's not like his striking all of a sudden was like severely downgraded, although I think he has regressed. But the fact that he's not even trying to make effective use of his wrestling or his backpacking, like Aljamain Sterling, like for example, not even Aljamain, Alexandre Pantoja. Pantoja will shoot a takedown knowing it's going to get stuffed, but he'll lift you and mat return you. Why? So you'll put your hands out on the mat. Well, why does he want to do that? So he can snatch the back. That's why. He just is trying to create back exposure. Now, Bautista is, to me, like, y'all are sleeping on him. I'm not telling you you have to like him. I am telling you you have to respect his abilities. He's good. I don't make the rules. He's clearly good. He might be boring to you. You may not like him. You may hate his game. You may still think he's not going to be champion. Fine. I wouldn't argue with any of those things. But he's good. But getting back to Mix, you didn't see any of that. You didn't see any of that kind of aggressive dynamism. In fact, he just stood there on the feet getting eaten alive by Bautista, who was able to move side to side, in and out, was able to be speedier, was able to make Mix turn and follow him. And then as he did, fucking crack him in the process. Terrible showing. Mix had terrible defensive head movement, which is to say basically none. He had terrible anticipation. He looked like a guy who had not been striking very long. Right? That's what he looked like. I mean, I'm not saying maybe he has an injury and we don't know. I don't know. But that's what he looked like. He looked like a guy who was would walk into things and didn't know how to gauge distance properly or set it up properly. He didn't have the smoothness. We got a sign something was wrong when he faced in the tournament. Patchy Mix submitted and put to sleep Magomedov. This is what I'm talking about. And then in the rematch, he got basically gifted a decision. He maybe should have lost it. And Magomedov did exactly the same kind of thing, teeing off on him like that. And I was like, well, maybe it was an aberrant performance. He hasn't competed in a year. This is a chance to get right. I did not like what I saw. And in fact, Pitbull looked to me better against Yair, even though he got dropped, than Mix looked against Bautista here. This was not a great. I like Patchy Mix a lot, and I like what he showed in that tournament. I don't know what has happened. He's just not fighting on those terms anymore. He's there to be hit, and he's not employing his game. Again, it's a very simple question you have to ask yourself. Under what conditions does this fighter produce their best game? Okay, now what do you have to do to establish those conditions? Did it look to you like Patchy Mix made a whole lot of progress doing it until the very end of the third round? It didn't look that way to me. It looked to me like he looked a little lost, a little rudimentary, a lot defensively limited, and just kind of willing to eat shots to, almost like a rigid Diaz. The Diaz is still let combinations fly and they still pressure and get you up against the fence. People think that they don't, but they do. You didn't even see that. And this is a guy who has some of the best back control in the business. Where is the attempt at back exposure? He had a hard time cutting Batista off. Batista's able to roam in this way, and Patchy's following because he's not cutting the cage off. To me, it looks like Patchy's game has regressed. That's not the guy who won the tournament. It's not. And if you guys don't believe me, listen, I say this stuff and people I bet, it's Bellator. I don't give a fuck about Bellator. Dude, Bellator's dead. Who gives a fuck about it? I'm telling you, watch those fights and tell me you saw that guy tonight. Oh, well, those guys aren't UFC guys. It was Sergio Pettis and Kyoji Horiguchi. What are you talking about? And he fucking completely controlled Horiguchi and iced Pettis, finished him off with like some of the best back control you've ever seen. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, what are we talking about? Where was that guy? Nowhere to be found. I don't know if Bautista changed his fortunes in terms of getting the fan base to like him. I don't really know how that works, but he's a good fighter, and you guys need to come to terms with that at some point. All right. Last but not least, Kevin Holland defeats Vicente Luque with an anaconda choke at 103 of 2 minutes in. And Kevin Holland at 170 is a great fighter. Great fighter. He's a dual threat. He caught a kick, ran it up, sent Luque to his back. Luque tried to roll, caught him with the anaconda, sat to the side of the choking sign, and then caught the leg and fucking leaned into it, hipped into it, and got him. He's good. He's really, really good. He was talking the whole time. His frame works better at 70. He can crack at 170. He's got a good chin no matter what. I think he's got better takedown defense at 170. He's got obviously good submissions, but like 170 is where he needs to be. And if he really applies himself, man, I don't know how far he can go. I'm not going to make any silly kind of claims here, but he's a dual threat. When he wants to be, he's a dual threat. Luque looked, for the most part, to me, pretty good. He didn't look too shop worn at all. But that's, Holland at 170 is just a different animal. I really, really appreciate what he was able to do. All right, if you have any questions for this part of the what you call it, pop them in now. Let's see here. I got to get back to where we are. Okay. Here comes the human energizer, buddy. We were talking about Merab. I just want to thank you, BC and MK, for helping me with my cocaine and porn addiction. Thanks to you guys, I now consume more coke and porn than ever. That's what we're here for, brother. Take that one home to mom. All right, this guy put 500 on Sugar TKO. Sorry, bro. Sorry about that. Rossi says, okay, we're doing more liking the politician things. I appreciate the donation, but I just don't. There's a time to talk about the Trump thing because the fucking is like, I don't think MMA is in a different place when it's telling a certain kind of fan they don't want them anymore. And I know what people inside the bubble think. They're like, oh, it's the president. Is it really sending a message to other people who may not like him that they shouldn't watch this sport anymore? Motherfucker, yes, it is. It is repellent to half the country. I'm not asking you to like it, but it is. It's repellent. Like the most polarizing, despised figure to half the country, they keep parading around. I'm not gonna dwell on it because I know a bunch of you are gonna hate this, but I'm just trying to explain to you, MMA is in a very different position than it was years ago. Now that they're saying, it used to be, we want all the fans. Hey, you got this political view, that political view. You're from this part. You this age, man, woman, tall, short, rich, poor, white, black. We want you. We want you. And now they're like, yeah, we'll take some of you. I don't know what the long-term costs of that are, but there's going to be some. Given his cardio, what's Merab's marathon time? Again, I have no fucking idea. He could probably do sub 3 hours. Sean can handle the space. We kind of talked about this one earlier. Stall tactics down 0-3. Turn the fight off. You missed it, man. You missed it. People keep saying Sugar should go to 45 as if 35 isn't physically controlling him. Yeah, but it's a fair point. Like, you got guys at 45 who could do that too. But, him versus Yair, him versus Diego, him versus Pitbull. I don't know. Those seem like fun-ass fights to me. Is Trump going to send Merab to El Salvador? No, probably not. Goat Rob. You can make an argument for it. You can absolutely make an argument that guy is the best. Guy says, all those life changes for nothing. That must suck. I said it before, man. One of the problems, and I've seen it with fighters a million times, they'll overhaul their life. They'll completely refine it. They'll cut no corners. They'll do all this stuff. They'll be like, okay, now nothing can stop me. And then it goes worse. How do you tell yourself that the things, like, how do you believe yourself after that? Do you understand what I'm saying? How do you believe what you can, like, if you're straining and pumping weight, you believe that you can get through the workout. You believe you can achieve goals. If you tell yourself something long enough and important enough and it turns out to be nothing, how do you continue to listen to the voice in your head when you know it's a lie? It's a tough place to be. Okay, guys. I mean, I'm not going to argue with you, but you know. Alan says Sean is going to have an identity crisis. I think he already is. California says Sugar should have outsourced to Craig Jones for this. I agree. Craig Jones has a lot of ideas about how to neutralize this stuff. And to me, I've said it, you have to have some kind of submission scenario that gives you a reasonable probability at going bottom to top, taking the back, or forcing an escape. You have to do it. Sean should retire in shame. Actually pathetic. No, not pathetic. Merab just got better. I don't agree with that. Merab got better. Alan says Merab making sure he doesn't get deported. Michael, time for Merab's 15-minute post-fight speech. Yeah, but he earned it. He earned it, though, you know. Max says, convince Merab crushes Peak, Cruz, and Dillashaw. That wouldn't be the same thing as saying he's the best bantamweight of all time because the different eras make it a little bit harder of a comparison, but I don't disagree. This donation is strictly for simulated BJs. You crack me up, Luke. I mean, these guys, Trump wins, or they win, and they're just, they can't wait to suck his cock. It's unbelievable. Furusato says, Luke, does having POTUS at every UFC event cheapen the office? No, I don't think it does that, but it unnecessarily polarizes the sport, I think, to a deep and profound degree. If you're inside the right-wing bubble, you like, what is he talking about? You have no idea. Oh, buddy. Talk to people outside of it. They think MMA is fascism washing. I'm just relaying to you how they feel. And it's a huge swath of people. Sorry. Jacob says, what were your thoughts on the Irish fighter yelling free Palestine while beating the Israeli IDF fighter? I mean, I tend to not, it has some nice symbolism, I suppose, but I tend to, that conflict is so absolutely horrifying that like, I don't even want, I don't know. The sports metaphors to me almost seem like a distraction, but certainly it creates for interesting atmospherics. Kylan, welcome to the party. Gee, Luke, I noticed that you have blocked me on X. I don't think we've ever had much interaction on there. I promise I'm not a dumb troll. Email me, lukethomasnews@gmail.com. You might have said some dumb shit, but we'll see. Message me. Furusato says, Luke, thoughts on Joe Bodybags Pfeiffer dropping Old Glory on the mat like a Neanderthal during his post-fight speech? It drives me nuts. I mean, nobody agrees with me, but there's something called the U.S. Flag Code, which is the proper etiquette, and it's got all this written down. U.S. military observes it. Most places try to observe it. That's why you don't put a flag on the ground. That's why you don't you don't adorn your color, your clothes in the way it looks like the flag. There's all kinds of rules about it. Proper disposal if you need to. It drives me nuts. Having been in the military, watching people just trash the American flag. They don't see it that way. They see it as like I'm parading it and showing it. But my answer would be you got to parade and show it to me under the rules of etiquette. But nobody cares about etiquette in 2025. Trick says, streets are saying Patchy got fraud checked. I mean, Patchy is not a fraud, but when you have a performance that bad, what are you supposed to say? What are you supposed to say? Yusuf says, hey, Luke, love the stream. You were super on point with your analysis. What do you think Corey and possibly Umar have to work on to face Merab? I mean, we kind of been over this one. They have to have an answer for each of those things. You have to have an answer for Merab's wrestling. You have to be able to build height quickly. That's one. I mean, you can't do it every time, but you have to have some kind of an answer for it. You have to have an answer for when you build back to your base, he's going to front headlock you or now potentially submit you. You have to have an answer for the doubles that put you on your back and how you're going to set up a submission scenario from there. Playing guard from there. Sean played guard from there. I just don't think that's the right call. I think playing guard from there is better than only looking to build height and wrestle up. Okay? I do think that. But I just don't think that's the best way to go into submissions against Merab. You have to set the terms. How do you do that if he puts you in guard? Merab picks you up, slams you down in guard. He put you there. Do you think he would put you there if he was worried about your submissions from guard? You have to make him terrified of the ground. And to do that, you have to set the terms. Inverting, leg locks. That's where I think the game is. Sydney says, why didn't Bautista get a post-fight interview? Because they don't give a fuck about him. Please provide your deepest conspiracy explanation. No, they just don't care. Afghan commander, how come Bautista didn't get a post-fight interview? Yeah, they don't care. They don't care. I mean, I'm sure they'll say it's about timing, but I just don't think they cared. Alan says, Luke, can we update the logo with all the grays now? Yeah, we do need to. I've got so many grays. I'm going gray like it's a contest. How does Sandhagen's 50-50 game come into play? Because if you can force a 50-50 entanglement, the 50-50 can be used to set up to get up bottom to top, submission, backside 50-50, come back bottom to top, right? All different backside 50-50. They try to roll through. You can do what Ryan Hall did to BJ Penn. You can shred his knee. So it's a submission threat. It's a bottom to top threat. It's a guard passing threat, depending on how you want to use it. But the whole point is you're making them react to you. And you're changing the position fundamentally. Oh, you wanted to put me in guard? Nope. That's not happening. Well, let's invert. That's what I think Corey offers with the 50-50 game. Jeet says, what would you say is the greatest fight night of all time? For me, it's Aspinall Volkov. We had 9 of 12 finishes, not to mention Ilya's crazy KO. The fight night where Rockhold beat Bisping is a good one. That was the one in Australia. That was a really good fight night. Alan says Merab was essing more D than Colby in post-fight. Yeah. Colby is not the biggest ball licker of Trump. He's got competition. Poodle Pack says, felt like Habib MCG minus the vile racism. Sean was so focused on defending the shot that he never gained Merab's respect. You've been saying it, but you have to hurt these guys before they drown you. What is the alternative, boys? What is the alternative? What is the alternative? There is no. It's that or nothing. Starship says, Merab's hands look heavy. They look better. How's he do against the top featherweight top 5? It's a good question. I think he's competitive up there. That's a great question. I think he's very competitive up there. I think he can win several of those fights. Volk's a tough fight, but the rest I don't know. Fofo says, after seeing that co-main event, is the women's 135 actually kind of interesting again? The top of it is. How intriguing would the addition of Larissa Pacheco be? If she can make 35, great, but I think she's kind of stuck at a higher weight. Daniel says, thanks for the insight and the laughs that you provided over the years. Take care and free Palestine. Thank you, my friend. Kylie, 2 titles, 20 pounds apart at women's MMA. How big is that? Big. Very big. Especially if one of them is Kayla, who's like barely able to get to 35. Like, it's big. Tammy says, it's all good. Sean's descendants will have no genitals and be flying around in spaceships. Hey, I welcome our robot overlords. All right, Paige says, who do you have in Corey versus Merab? Sorry if you already said came in late. Thanks for all you do. What I would say is, Paige, you still have to favor Merab, but I think Corey's got the most unique threats. I favor Merab. I don't know how you can favor anybody over Merab at 35 right now. Shigertark says the UFC manufactured a clown and ended up with a goat. I think it's a little harsh, but yeah, dude, it ain't always the chosen sons who break through. Merab is just blue collar, fucking undeniable. Kylie says, was Sean in his own head, quitting weed, quitting social media, new hair, new song? All we heard about were his lifestyle changes, nothing skill-based. He did have some skill updates. Again, we've been over this. The down blocking was much better. The takedown defense was overall much better. It's the getting up off the bottom. That's not really takedown. I mean, that's kind of takedown defense, especially if you're scooting your hips back and you're getting to the fence. But like if you're flat on your back and you're in guard, we're basically in a different place now. Now you have to have an answer for that, right? And I don't think he had an answer for that. And that was his undoing. How many Merab got 5 takedowns in this one out of 12. So 41% defensive rate or 41% takedown rate. Yeah. Lazy Bear said Merab has more title defenses this year than John Jones has this decade. Wow. Also, Sean was better high. I don't agree. I don't agree he was better high. Cal says Corey is not next. The UFC's already confirmed Merab versus O'Malley 3 is next. I don't think so after that performance, but that'd be funny. Dalton says, every time Merab fights, I can't help think how insane it is that Aldo stopped all of his takedowns at altitude and at 37 years old, and really not even in his best weight class. Athleticism of Aldo was crazy. His takedown defense, there's a legendary, the first time Gray Maynard went down there and was like trained with him, this was when Gray was like a top lightweight. And Gray came back and being like, you guys don't know how good his takedown defense is. It's better than I thought. And then, I mean, we kind of had some idea. And then, he was like making Edgar look terrible. 9:15 a.m. says Merab's knees to the body and chest off from top are sick. Only when they was on his side. But yes, when he gets to his side, that was sick. I agree. Max says Merab's like Khabib, but instead of a wide range of takedowns, trips, and throws to disrupt balance, he can repeat his narrower cycle, knowing he'll gas out. So true. Great point. If you keep getting up or time will run out on you. That's right. Khabib was better at keeping you down anyway. But to your point, Merab doesn't have like a super, super wide array. He's got a pretty good arsenal, but it's not like a super wide array. He's got his weapons that he goes to. And if one doesn't work, he goes to the next. If that doesn't work, he goes back to the first one. And either one of them works or just the onslaught of them works. Amazing. Jack says, I would like Sean to go up and fight Funkmaster. That'd be cool. About 45 again. But no, I'd rather see some fresh matchups. B-Mac, I know the differences are extremely subtle, but still, you can't say the ninja choke is AKA a power guillotine. I think you can. It was called a power guillotine first, and then the name just kind of changed over time. You can very much say that. Jesse said, is UFC withholding Aspinall Jones for Netflix? I don't know. Is Dana at the post-fight presser? Did we get an answer to that? Did Dana go? Did Dana go to the post-fight presser? What do we learn here? Did he show up? Yes, he did. White says that he doesn't know what it will take for someone to defeat Merab. He says O'Malley was 100% healthy. White says that Harrison Nunes felt big. White says that he's been too busy to keep up with the gossip surrounding John Jones. He says that Jones is back home and on Tuesday they'll figure it out. Okay. White says that, quote, Tom Aspinall is the guy, end quote, and if Jones wants to retire and doesn't want to keep fighting, then there's nothing he can do. He says he will do what they can to make the fight. I mean, you also been saying that you were going to make the fight, but all right. White says that John has been John since he walked through the door and says that things don't always go the way they have it planned. Yeah, there you go. White on Patchy Mix. When fighters come from smaller shows and go to UFC, some shine and some have a rough time, and it's not easy. White says that Merab wants to stay active, blah, blah, blah. White says that in boxing, nobody talks and confirms he will still be promoting Canelo Crawford. I did hear that on Friday. Let's see. White says that every human on earth was DMing him the petition to strip John Jones of the title. Oh, he says the new deal could be announced this month or as late as September, the new TV deal. White says that he is in his own little world and doesn't pay attention to the boxing news. Yeah, right. What I heard was they had to repair things, but okay, doesn't matter. White says that Nunes has been expressing interest. O'Malley would take some time off. White says the UFC doesn't have Francis Ngannou under contract and that Aspinall is the guy. He says he's not really interested in trying to bring back Ngannou. Man, are you fucking kidding? Whatever. What can you do? What can you do? To beat Merab, do you think it would take a 45er? It would make it easier. It'd make it easier. JP says, I figured if O'Malley was healthy this time, he could chin Merab and win, but Merab leveled up. I think Sean could move up to 45 as a career pivot. I certainly agree. Max says, if Movsar can safely do it, please go down to 35. If he ends up looking poor, then yes. In his next fight or title fight. Jeff says, Christy Noam is advertising on your channel. MMA is never beating the allegations. Yeah, man. Jesus fuck. Nick says, is there a weird wishful thinking or trying to be meta that makes people want to believe someone like Patchy or Pitbull better than they are? No. Pitbull, you got real late. Pitbull's 37 and been through the ringer and hasn't been the same since like basically, 2 fights ago when he got chinned and sorry. When he got chinned against and then submitted or whatever it was against McKee. He was never the same after that, but he had a long, bloody, decorated career. Dude, everyone does this shit. I was there when they brought WEC over and everyone said the exact same shit. They were like, oh, these guys aren't going to do well. And then they fucking ran the table. And it's the same thing when they brought over Strikeforce. They're like, oh, these guys aren't going to do shit. And then they ran the table. What you're getting is piecemeal. You're getting Kayla, Pitbull, and Patchy. And one of them is now 3-0 in the UFC. The other ones are 0-1 and 0-1. But you're not getting all of the PFL or all of the best ones from the PFL. If you did, I think you'd see a broader picture. And PFL is not equivalent to Strikeforce. And even to an extent, WEC for the lightweight division where there was the overlap at the time. But I can tell you that everyone was like, oh, the Cerrones of the world, the Varners of the world, the Pettises and the Hendos, these guys are not going to do well in the UFC. Well, how did that go? Why not make Harrison at featherweight? Because it wouldn't be for the belt. Ryan says, using the true meaning of pound for pound, Merab is and has been number one in my opinion. Nobody can match the pace, cardio, pressure, and ability to break opponents. You have to beat a certain high quality number of fights, which he has. But to me, that would be more indicative of what pound for pound means, is the actual results themselves. But the way in which they get it done is two. But to me, like the strength of schedule is like the most important. And again, he has that. But that I'm saying that's the way I would mostly measure it. Morgan says, if Pantoja beats KKF, does he have a better claim to the Merab fight than Sandhagen? No, but I wouldn't hate it if they made it. No, but Sandhagen's been waiting a while. He had a couple of fits and starts. He's a fresh contender, and I think he's an interesting matchup. Fofo says, Chandler 2-5, Mix dominated in debut, Pitbull dominated in debut. Have I been overestimating Bellator's roster? Missed tournament Patchy recently? No. Again, Chandler came over at age 34. Mix looked terrible. Pitbull looked terrible, but he's 37. You're not getting them fresh. In the case of Chandler and Pitbull, their primes were basically over. And in the case of Mix, that's a different one. Shiger Tark says, is MVP the best Bellator acquisition? He's been one of the better ones. Odds on Pico. To me, Pico's got a lot to prove, man. I like him a lot, but he's got a lot to prove. Let's see if they give him the Movsar fight. Nicholas, love you, Luke. You're a rare breed. Never stop what you do. Stoked for all the guys and gals who won and the great sportsmanship. Thank you, Nicholas. Thank you. Jacob says, so cool of ESPN to host the Republican National Convention. I thought that was CPAC. Henry says, does Merab have better cardio than Prime Kane? By a million miles. Prime Kane had like great cardio at heavyweight, but not like the best cardio I've ever seen. MM says, it's sad what's going on. Just look at LA. Yeah, I heard. Henry, Volk versus O'Malley at 45. Who wins? Volk. But O'Malley could make an interesting run for himself there at 45. Austin says, I know it's only been 2 title defenses, but a 145 run after another defense for Merab or accepting a Pantoja fight, I would be okay with. Poodle says, can you cap the night with a Jordan Breen story? Seemed like he made a real impact on your life. Sorry for your loss. Also, prayers for asking. I can't do any more Jordan Breen stuff. I can't. You know what? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Hang on. Let me do this real quick. Mike Bond sent me this. Okay, let me do this. You know what? As a matter of fact, I can. All right, hang on. Okay. Let me put this up. Okay, let's see. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to show you something that maybe you can help out with. So let me take this off. And then let me take this off. And then let me upload. You know what? Let me do it here. Oh, for fuck's sake. It's on the desktop. Okay, here we go. Sorry, this is about Breen, so please bear with me. All right. I don't know if you can see that. Let me put it here in the overlay. Give me 1 second here. I'll put it right back up. This is official. This comes from the folks who have set it up. This in front of me is at the college that Jordan Breen attended. They're setting up a scholarship in his name, the Jordan Breen Scholarship Fund. This will go to sports reporting, or people who are interested in careers in sports reporting. If you want to donate to this cause, scan this QR code. This comes from Mike Bond. Mike Bond is the one kind of setting all this up. He sent me this. Here, let me put this here. Wait. Here we go. He sent me this, right? Here, let's go a little higher. He sent me this. So this is official. This is for that. So scan that up. And if you want to donate even just $5, if you've got it, to this scholarship fund, I think it'd be greatly appreciated. I'll certainly do the same. I can't do any more stories, man. I'm exhausted. I just don't want to talk about it anymore right now. I don't. All right. Ben Askren hospitalized. I heard. Hoping for a swift recovery. Yes, I certainly share the sentiment. Zach, thank you very much. For Rosado, Luke, thanks for your service. What you stand for matters. I'm appreciative you entertained my BS tonight. Semper Fi, and Semper Fi to you too, please. Blake says, did you like the Holland call out of Colby? Sure. I don't know if that's exactly the fight I want at 170 for Colby, but I'd take it. I think decent build-up and good test for Holland at 70 also shows how washed Colby is. Agreed. Yes, I would definitely take it. Devin says, same structure as a Nogi Ezekiel, right? Yeah, I mean, I have to talk to Merab about it. I think he puts his chest on top, but yeah. Spencer says, been listening to Morning Combat at work. Thanks for the entertainment. Does Pantoja move up if he beats Kai Kara? I think that might become something that the fans ask for, yes. Luke, chilling with my dog right now, and he wants to know who you'd favor in a Holland versus Buckley rematch at 170. I'd probably favor Buckley in a rematch. Rest in peace, Barbas. But that'd be fun. Because remember, Holland knocked him out at 85. Shigertark, remember, thanks for becoming a member. Rodney, did you see everything going on with the Keys as in Davis? I'm in VA. I was in the building. It's a shit show. Yeah, dude. Keyshawn Davis has, in one weekend, wrecked his reputation. Misses weight, is unrepentant, fight falls through, shows up, and then jumps someone who beats his brother, I think, in a fight. Like, you got to be fucking kidding me. While Top Rank is trying to negotiate a new deal. Afifi says, you don't mind if people initially don't like and come around later. In this regard, you're similar to Trump. He tolerates just about everybody who kisses his ass, even if they trashed him in the past. Yeah, that's really not what I'm saying at all, but I don't give a fuck to even argue anymore. Casey says, just legalize steroids already. We can stop pretending Merab's cardio is legit. I'm not complaining. Jason says, how likely is it the UFC gives O'Malley a semi-tune-up fight next? They might be willing to cash out on him. We'll see. Who'd you like to see him fight next? Let's see. Good question. I would like you could do Cejudo. You could do Umar. You could do a rematch with Jan. I know Jan's got the Marcus McGee fight coming up, but any of those were pretty good. Yeah, any of those would be good. Okay. And by the way, we didn't talk about it at the Kayla thing, but Ribeiro taking a point in the first round for the up kick. Loved it. Shouts to Shaolin. What a great ref. All right, boys and girls, thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. We're done here. If you got any questions, email me, lukethomasnews@gmail.com. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, send it to a friend. Be so kind. I'm out of here. And until next time, enjoy the fights and get some sleep. I love you guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'll see you next time. Peace.